7, so I guess we'll get started. First of all, if we could have this kind of crowd for every public thing we did, that would be awesome. So the first thing I do want to do is thank everyone, no matter what side or what your viewpoint is on this topic and the potential site of skate parks in the borough of Lansdale. I'm just ecstatic that so many people want to be heard or be seen and want to take part in the government process, so thank you for that. As you know, I think you all know you're here to take another look at our potential skate park in Lansdale, and we heard your voices. If you're not here for the skate park meeting, maybe you want another room down the hall. But tonight we are here to discuss the merits of the best location for a skate park in the borough of Lansdale. Many of you know we have been at this topic for several months. The committee originally put forth a recommendation, and based on public comments and viewpoints and issues that were brought up at other public meetings as well as committee meetings, the committee agreed to take another look, a harder look at our original scoring and the original criteria we looked at. So we want you to know your voices have been heard, and we're going to go through another PowerPoint presentation. Some of you may have seen before. Some of it is new information and updated information. We want you to know that we've heard concerns and good points on both sides of skate parks and where the skate park could potentially be positioned in the borough. So I want to let everybody know that this meeting tonight is being recorded, not necessarily for us to show it on our new TV station or post the live meeting on the website, but for a matter of record. But I will say that with the caveat, perhaps it might be posted somewhere for people to view. So know that we are being recorded, so when it comes time for public comment, when you go to the microphones, please state your name and address for the record. I will also, at this point, give you our projected timeline. After tonight's meeting, the Parks and Rec Committee meets on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Depending on the number of people who turn out, we'll talk about location. Usually we meet upstairs in room 201. The timeline at this point is for the committee, based on the input that we received tonight, to put forth and vote on our recommendation for site location for skate park in Lansdale. And whatever our recommendation will be will come before full borough council at our business meeting on March 15th, which is the third Wednesday in March. That's 7 o'clock, and that will be here. So that's what the timeline is. And I think with that, we are ready to share some of the information we think may be helpful to everyone's here. So
you want to introduce the people?
That makes perfect sense. So for these, we do have groups that may not have been here before. I am Mary Fuller. I serve as your Borough Council Vice President, but I also chair the Parks and Rec Committee. To my right is Carl Salduti. I think many of you know he is the director of our Parks and Recreation system, has been for 45 or more years. To my immediate left is Councilwoman Carrie Hawkins Charlton, who, among other things, serves on the Parks and Rec Committee, as does Councilman Jason Van Dame. To Carl's right, and of course down at the end, if you couldn't tell by the uniform, he's Chief Robert McDyer, Lansdale Borough Police. Thank you. Okay. So, selection process. The committee was given 4 choices to take a look at. We looked at spaces, A, that the borough currently owned and had enough space, open space, to house a skate park. So the 4 sites that we looked at were 4th Street Park, Wissahickon Park, Hancock Street Park, and that is not to be confused with Stony Creek Park. Hancock, and we'll see some other aerial renderings of all of these parks a little bit later to put all of them into perspective for you. And 9th Street, the location we are looking at is on the Senator Hall Little League side of 9th Street, where the temporary municipal complex used to be while this was being built, not over at Schweiker Park, which is across the street and jointly owned by Hatfield and Lansdale. So we looked at these 4 sites, and we rated them, graded them, scored them on a set of criteria. This set of criteria is something we generally discussed at our committee meetings tonight. If you haven't seen it before, these are the dozen or so categories that the committee graded each of the 4 sites we just talked about on. We rated each of these areas on a scale of 1 to 10. And in fact, as we promised, those who attended our committee meetings, we took a new look, and recently, without looking at the first score sheets we turned in, each of us took the time to do a new score sheet, and the results, we'll get into the results of that. So, far and away, once again, 4th Street came out at the top of our lists, far above the other sites. This slide will show you an aerial view of exactly what the site looks like as it is today. You can see the swimming pool, there's basketball court, tennis court, there's a substation, parking lot, some other buildings. There's a playground. When I say other buildings, I mean borough buildings like sheds, storage buildings. There are some ball fields there as well. This is shows the concept. Again, this isn't a skate park that has been designed. This is just, we want to give you a visual of what a skate park, where we'd like to position it, where our thought process is, where we'd position it within the park, and what it could look like. You can see there are ways to landscape it to address some concerns that we'll get into later. Again, that is not the actual design. We would use a design team and input from users before we would present an actual skate park. So we want you to see what a potential, where it would be positioned, and about a rough, and this is all to scale. So you'd get a rough idea of, with the park as a whole, which is 8 acres in totality, what the percentage would be there. That is a 9,500 square foot skate park that we showed you. Please don't confuse this. We're not putting 2 skate parks in, just 1. We just wanted to show you some of the feedback we heard was that it was 3 times the size of some of the things there, like the tennis court, when in fact it's a little better than 2,000 square feet. It's close in size to the existing tennis court that is already there. We used 95 square feet for a skate park. We have determined that that would be the largest skate park we would build, no matter what site is selected. So that's the highest, the largest possible size that the skate park would be. I knew we threw around numbers, other renderings we talked about were 10,000 square feet or 12,000 square feet, but it's been determined it would be 9,500 or less. You can see on this slide that the distance between, if the skate park is positioned here at 4th Street, the closest house is 285 feet, and you can see the measurements. I don't need to read them all to you in each direction, how close, in close proximity the skate park would be to existing homes. The next site we looked at was 9th Street. And this is one that has been highly discussed as a potential alternative to 4th Street. Again, this is the site as it sits today, an actual aerial view of what 9th Street Park looks like. Again, on the Little League side, the side that is just specifically owned by Lansdale. And I can point out some of the other stuff on the next slide. So you can see what a skate park would look like. Again, this is a concept, not an actual design, where it would be positioned with the space that's available in this park. As you can see, it's kind of shoehorned in between a parking lot and the electric services building. And there's really not a lot of room for expansion there, but that's roughly what it would look like. As we move to the next slide, we will see the closest residence in proximity is roughly the same as 4th Street, 3 feet greater distance between skate park and closest house. Hancock Street is the next park we scored and looked at. Again, this is the park that is on the border of Upper Gwynedd Township. Closest residence is 125 feet, so much closer than the other two. You can also see by this rendering, the aerial view, that there are no other park amenities, and it's a passive park by virtue of the fact there's really nothing else there at this time. We looked at Wissahickon Park as well. This again is an aerial view of the existing park with the concept rendering, again, not actual skate park design that could be put in there. You can see it's in the center of the park, and the proximity to homes is once again closer than the first two parks that we looked at. You will notice, too, this is also more of a passive park. There are residents. There's not really other park amenities or access to public businesses at this location. So in the course of our review and research as to having these public meetings and determining where the best fit for a skate park in the borough would be, keeping in mind we're looking at borough-owned property. We heard a lot of comments from people, whether online or in person or via email. There are a lot of what people think might happen versus, we're trying to help everybody understand perception versus reality. One of the things we heard is that skate parks might make a neighborhood less desirable. They would bring in the wrong element. But the reality of it is the tough appearance of some of these skaters is certainly not an indicator that they're engaging in illegal activity. We feel that busy parks are, in fact, safer parks. And a little bit later, I think our chief will address that in more detail. The perception is that skate parks are excessively noisy, and in fact, skate parks generate noise levels comparable to other park and home facilities. We found it interesting that the average skate park noise level is actually quieter than when you flush your toilet in your home. Comparable, the things that you might hear every day in that existing active park at 4th Street, because it is an active park, I would say 8 months, at least 7, 8 months of the year, you're going to hear lawnmowers and leaf blowers on a nearly daily, if not daily or more than daily basis. Leaf blowers, lawn mowers are certainly operated at a higher noise level than the average skate park. So we just wanted to put that noise into perspective a little bit. We also heard the fear, and this is valid. Nobody wants to buy a home and then lose money. I mean, that's a major investment that people who buy homes make. So we decided that we would do some research into that. We do understand that home value is a complex combination of factors, including the supply and demand of the local market along with other market conditions. So how can we make this comparable? So what we did, the best we could do, was compare it to Knight Park in Ambler. The same builder who built the homes at Williamson Court also built the homes here in Ambler, right across the street. In fact, 72 feet from where the skate park was installed in Ambler. We found that homes, 80% of the homes that sold actually increased in value by an average of more than $27,000. The 20% that showed a decrease was less than $7,000. $6,900 was the average for the few houses that did sell at a loss. You can see this slide here shows the property values that increased and the property values that decreased. I will point out that the red, right where it says South Main Street, that house decreased in value, but you'll see by the next slide that actually that home was purchased at a price that was much higher than all the other homes originally purchased. It also resold. While it resold at a loss, it actually resold higher than all the other homes resold at. So that puts that into perspective a little bit. So as you can see the numbers there. Housing values on the average certainly did not decrease. And I should mention that all the houses, these numbers were based on after the skate park was built, the homes were purchased after the build out, after the subdivisions, and all the homes were sold. So we have discussed the benefits of skate parks in prior meetings, but we thought it was worth showing again some of the reasons why this committee and this department feel that skate park is warranted. Anytime we can get kids, we often hear about kids sitting inside, playing video games, not being social. There are all kinds of benefits to having a skate park, and I don't need to read those to you. Be happy to send this slide to anybody who wants it. You're listening to my voice long enough tonight. So again, these are concept drawings, but we wanted to share with everyone what a skate park, whichever site is selected. These are some of the ways a skate park could look. Again, I want everybody to understand that we will be using professional design teams. We're not going to just do this as a Parks and Rec committee. We'll throw a ramp here and do this there. And that's a stipulation. Even if it wasn't a stipulation in the grant that we have for a skate park, we would have done that anyway. In addition to using professional designers, we also will get input from the people we expect will be users of this, because when we build it, we want it to be used. So as you can see, there are all kinds of landscaping options and different things, different shapes and different amenities that can be included to make this a useful and beautiful amenity to our park system. Interestingly enough, just the other week, in fact, a week ago Friday, there was a segment on the national news regarding the benefits of skateboarding, and specifically as it relates to the female population. So I'll ask you to hit play.
At 10 years old, Zoe Harrison is a daredevil on wheels. But she wasn't always that way.
Tell me about the first time you went to a skate park.
I just saw a bunch of boys. I was like, well, I'm the only girl here.
Pretty intimidating for a first-timer. But then Zoe joined GROW, the Girls Riders Organization, an encouraging environment where girls of all ages can learn to skateboard, stress-free.
I feel better, definitely, because I can do more.
We want to be strong on our
Courtney Payne Taylor founded GROW
Perfect.
after skateboarding helped lift her out of a depression.
Once you start to experience that kind of nervousness and then that accomplishment after it, that's what I really got hooked on.
She thought other girls might like to try it and learn some of the same lessons she did.
There's only one thing that can hold back a woman or a girl, and that's herself.
It's that attitude earning her national recognition.
Women like you are everyday heroes.
It turns out skateboarding is about more than trying new tricks.
They're learning that internal belief in themselves and challenging themselves. And once they discover that, they blossom.
GROW is blossom too. It's got 10 crews and counting. Zoe isn't intimidated anymore. The fourth grader now organizes events and fundraisers around skateboarding.
Bend your knees.
And she loves to share what she's learned.
You want me to hold your hand?
Yeah, I do. It's not easy, and there are bound to be falls.
And then just bend
But as
your
Zoe
knees.
taught me, picking yourself up is one of the biggest lessons.
Always be confident and never give up.
Words to live by. Good job on and off the ramp. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, New York.
Thanks. So as we get ready to move into public comment, I would like to ask my fellow committee members to share anything they'd like to at this point, and then we'll also hear from the police chief. So, Carrie, if you have anything you'd like to share at this point?
Yes, I do. I actually have a 6-year-old son who got a skateboard from Five Below, which was really high end, I'm sure, as you can imagine. So I did my own little research. I took him to Ambler Skate Park on President's Day, and I just wrote a little tidbit of what happened while we were there, because neither of us had been to a skate park before. On President's Day, my 6-year-old son Ethan and I visited the Ambler Skate Park for the first time. We arrived around 10 a.m. A few boys were already on the basketball court right next door, and the skate park was pretty quiet, except for an 11-year-old boy and 2 brothers who were rollerblading and actually filming stunts at the time. The brothers turned out to be Sean and Colin Kelso, who film and rollerblade all over the East Coast. I spoke with Sean at length about the challenges of building a skate park and having neighbors who are worried about the type of people that the skate park attracts. He said that it's great to have an active park with a variety of different sports for kids to try, especially in a sports complex. So not every kid wants to play baseball, football, or soccer. Sean mentioned the fact that he uses his camera to film and filmmaking experience, which he actually credits that interest to skating and wanting to film tricks, to help raise money for new skate parks and helps make donations to the Paynes Foundation. I spoke with the 11-year-old's mom when she arrived at the skate park. She seemed comfortable enough to let her son skate while she ran to the gym for an hour. He takes lessons twice a week at the Ambler Skate Shop, and he's only been skating about for a year and a half. He looked really professional to me. I asked him if he had a favorite park and what he likes to do at the skate park. He said he loves the skate park in Ocean City, New Jersey. He likes rails, half pipes, and bowls. He also skates at the Marion Skate Park, and his mom said she would love if Lansdale could be on the rotating list of parks to visit. The next person to arrive was a neighbor in the new housing development adjacent to the skate park, which you saw on the slide. He actually used his scooters, him and his 2 sons, who were 5 and 7 years old. He said he loves that the skate park's there, it's close to his house, and the park offers many different ways for his kids to play. He's seen other kids and young adults arrive on the train just to visit the skate park. In his opinion, he hasn't had any problems with the park, and he's happy that his kids, as they get older, will have some place to grow. He mentioned to me the fact that people have a stigma attached to skate parks, and it would be great if they would be open-minded and try visiting one in person. He also has not seen any drop in his home value since the skate park has been built. As far as he understands, his neighbors don't complain about the skate park, in his opinion. Next up was a 9-year-old boy who arrived with his father. His father sat patiently on the bench while his son skateboarded around. I spoke with him, and they were from Orland, and they only recently traveled to the skate park. His son is an avid video game player and also very overweight. He received a skateboard video game as a gift over the summer and loved it so much that he asked for a skateboard for Christmas. His dad was thrilled that his son was interested in going outside and playing, and anytime he asks, he encourages it. It gets him off the computer and the PlayStation, is what he said. His son has tried a variety of sports while growing up, and none has been a really good fit for him. He said he's so thankful that he decided to give skateboarding a try. It's been great for both of them. They both get outside and get some exercise. While I was talking to his father, my son still was kind of riding on his tush on the skateboard, and his son actually came over and helped my son, just holding his hand and trying to get him down the hill. An older man arrived just as we were about to leave, probably in his 40s. He was standing with a board in his hand, watching everyone at the park for a couple minutes. So I finally got up the nerve to ask him if he was going to skateboard or what's he doing with this skateboard in his hand. And he started laughing that his 13-year-old son had been skateboarding for a year. He rode when he was a teenager, so he decided he was going to get back onto the skateboard and practice while his son was at school, so he could spend some quality father-son time together. I asked him why he wouldn't come with his son in the beginning, and he laughed and said, "I need to practice so he doesn't make fun of me." So I could tell he was really nervous. Now a man in his 40s, the thought of breaking a bone is a real problem. As I laughed with him, we chuckled, and he casually joined the others. In my eyes, what a great father to do something that may have caused him a lot of pain, but in his eyes was worth the memories. So about an hour and a half, my son and I walked around around the neighborhood actually, and knocked on a couple doors, unsuccessfully, to talk to any neighbors about the park. Sadly, I was really disappointed that no one had answered the door. But we walked right by and said goodbye to everybody we had just met. What Ethan and I took away from the skate park was more than, honestly, I had hoped to accomplish. I thought we'd find some teenage boys who were rowdy and cursing and just wasting time, because in my mind, that's what I was expecting to find. What we found was a great place to exercise and new people who really brought in my perspectives on who actually visits a skate park. I never assumed I would see skateboarders, rollerbladers, and some young children using scooters all at one time. Reluctantly, I had to drag Ethan away from the skate park with the promise that we'd come visit again. So currently I have 2 different skateboards in my Amazon cart, so if anybody wants to help me later pick out a better skateboard, that'd be great. So, thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Jason, did you have anything
Yeah, I didn't write the story out, and maybe I should have. I will try to keep it brief. We have been talking about this for a long time, but I just want to kind of go over again, my thought through the whole process. I'll start with a little story when I remember being about a 12-year-old boy and skateboarding into town, and not nearly as much traffic back then, but I skateboarded across Main Street around where the convenience store is. It was Bittner McVan Pharmacy at the time, and one of Lansdale's finest is sitting in the parking lot and called me over and told me I couldn't skateboard on the street because it was considered a vehicle and it's unregistered and couldn't be on the street. So my question was, well, where can I skate? Well, the sidewalk. Not a whole bunch of sidewalks in Lansdale that are real conducive to skateboarding from my house into town. So anyway, ever since then, and I remember back in those days, kids, were looking for a facility to try to skateboard, and over the years, different attempts have been made to drum up interest. But the reality is, teenagers don't have the wherewithal and the organization abilities to drive a process like this. We've been fortunate to get a grant to develop a skate park, and I think it's an excellent opportunity. This group of people in our community is definitely an underserved group. We have playgrounds, we have swimming pools, we have Little League baseball fields that serve the younger kids. But you're constantly hearing, what are our teenagers supposed to do? Where can they go? Well, anywhere, just not here, move them away. So I think a skateboard park is one of those avenues that could really serve some of their interests. It doesn't capture everybody, but it's an effort toward giving them an opportunity to develop a skill and work towards something. It's a healthy activity. As far as the location goes, I did go through our evaluation process again. We are limited in resources in that regard. And, when it comes right down to it, the 4th Street Park is still, in my opinion, the location that would create the best possibility of success for a skate park. It would attract the widest range of users, so not just teenagers, but young families can come and their kids can use the playground and the pool while their teenagers are using the skate park. So a wider group of kids will make use of it. I did listen to a lot of concerns. In fact, yesterday I was out in the neighborhood and knocked on about 15 doors, got about 11 people to speak with. Some of them are here tonight, and some of them agreed with me. Some of them, we disagreed on the location of the park, and I understand the concerns. But when it comes down to it, there is really a perception and a reality of these skate parks. I've been to skate parks, and being there and taking my kids there has really changed my perception of what they are. When you don't experience it firsthand, you can have a negative perception of something like a skate park. But the ones I've been to in and around the area are impressive. It's neat to see the kids helping each other out. They're not kids that are destined for team sports or individuals, but they don't mind taking a young kid under wing and showing them how to do a trick. And to me, that's the kind of thing we want to encourage, not send them somewhere else. So I did get a chance to read the mayor's blog, and I appreciate him doing that. I think the title was a little bit misleading because it wasn't really kind of a debate on should it or shouldn't it be. It was kind of why it probably shouldn't be.
Disagree, but we can get it.
Okay, well, but it talked about a majority of residents around the park don't want it there. So I did look into that a little bit, and I did the math. I know we have a petition with 99 signatures representing about 64 different properties. The vast majority of them are in and around that park. There are a couple that are outliers. So I looked at the neighborhood, and when you take the number of homes that are in, that Line Street to 3rd Street to 7th Street to Hemlock, there's about 123 homes. So when you compare that to the 64 homes that are against it, it's about half and half. Now, that 123 homes did not count the Williamson Square development. That adds another 58 properties to that. So that takes the range down to about a third of the property owners that are actively opposed to it. So, I understand that there's some reasons that people aren't interested in having it there, but there is a much broader community, and I think that they deserve to have their say. So, just when you hear that, majority, realize that it's an active group that got together and organized, and I applaud you for that. I think it's great to get out and get to know your neighbors and get them on board. But it's not yet a majority that really opposes it. And actually I got some signatures from the people that I did talk to, and out of the 11 I talked to, or out of the 9 I talked to, 7 of them signed, 4 of them supported the park, 3 of them opposed the park, and 2 of them wanted to hold judgment until they we're hopefully going to try to make it tonight and decide. So it is a kind of a close call, but our job is to recommend what we think is the best site. In my mind, barring conversation yet to come tonight, I do still believe that 4th Street is the best location. So, thank you.
Carl, did you want to say anything before I have the chief say a few words?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first, I want to echo Mary's comments at the beginning and thank everyone for coming out and showing their interest. And again, no matter what side you're on, I will say that this has been a topic of discussion for probably going back to the 90s, where skate parks were being talked about in the borough of Lansdale. Never really materialized. We had the opportunity a couple of years ago to make this happen. There is a population out there, as Jason has said, that is underserved. They need a place to exercise, to express themselves, to be creative, and to be outdoors, and also to be safe in that environment. This committee has done a lot of work. We've done a lot of research. We've listened to the comments. So I want to commend the members of the committee for their patience. As a Parks and Recreation Director, we're no different than any other Parks and Recreation Department. We take a look at what's going on in the community. We try to provide recreational outlets for most segments of the population. That being said, we can't accommodate everyone's recreational whim. But knowing that skateboarding is a mainstream activity, growing in popularity, I've mentioned this before. It's part of the. They have the Do Tour. They have the X Games. It'll be part of the Olympics. So this is just not a fringe activity. And I think our research has shown us that there is a perception as to who gets involved in skateboarding, what these facilities look like, and what the outcome is. And we've tried to dispel that through research, talking to other communities that have skate parks. So I think we've done as much as we possibly can to study the issue, to explore all the possibilities that we possibly could that were afforded to us, and hope we present the facts, to the community. So we'll move forward one way or another, I would hope, and make the skate park a reality. But again, I think, from a Parks and Rec director's perspective, I think we've gone about this the right way. I will say that we have built $700,000, $800,000 complexes within the borough and never had meetings like this. It was mentioned at a council meeting briefly. Next thing you know, bulldozers are on site and parks are being developed or facilities are being built. So the committee has really gone out of their way to make sure that people were informed, educated as best could be, to present the facts relative to the skate park. So they're my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Chief?
Thank you, Councilwoman Furman, and good evening, everyone. And, I echo the same thing. It's so great to see so many people out here at different stages in our life, and young people, which we never see at our meetings, and I think that's great. My journey started on the skateboard process several years ago when Councilwoman Fuller and Carl approached me with it. Probably from a look on my face, I didn't say anything where they thought, he's probably not all for it. And my knee-jerk reaction, admitting, why do I want to take someone and police it? We had a lot of things going in town. We were trying to clean up town, and when we have. However, then I thought about it from two perspectives that, as a police officer for 31 years now in the borough, I've been chasing young people around, young adults that were skateboarding. And the answer is always, well, where can we go? I never had an answer to give them. We even passed an ordinance downtown several years ago where you're not allowed to skateboard downtown. And a lot of times they're on private property and cause damage because, it's not the proper venue to do it. And again, we never can tell them where. I also thought a perspective of, I live in town. I live in the area. I have 3 kids that went to Knapp and then went to Penndale and North Penn High School, and they played sports. And I've been to the soccer fields too many Saturdays and rugby and everything else, and they use the sports facilities. And my son was a skater and played ice hockey, and he probably would use this skate park. And for that perspective, if we're going to police it, it has to be in the best place in town. And Carl and I spent countless hours, going to different locations and looking at it. And one of the big reasons people don't like it at the 4th Street, because there's so many activities and people around it, but for that same reason makes it the best place. Because it's like a fishbowl where somebody's always looking at it, and those same eyes that always see it will help it be safer. And I'm telling you, we can police it, and we'll police it, because we'll have a good input into the design, and we'll have a loop road to go around. There'll be security and cameras. And I've also had a very long conversation with the chief of police at Ambler, Chief William Foley. And he was kind of the same thing years ago when they mentioned, and he wasn't 100% for it, but he addressed the same issues about kids skating downtown. And, Ambler's going through a great revitalization downtown. And the skaters really shouldn't have been downtown. It interferes with the business activities. He said open up the skate park's been the best thing they ever did. They have very few problems there, if at all, and it's given them the same thing where, kids say, where can we go? It's a great outlet for recreation for the kids. And, for that reason, I think that 4th Street's the best place. And, to have a recreational outlet for kids in town is a great idea. And I guarantee we can police it. There'll be great security there and cameras. And, and I think of it the perspective, too, as a homeowner in the area. Would it affect my home value? And we did that research, and it doesn't appear to, but I understand your concerns, but we're trying to fill our recreational need in town and do it in the best way. And this property, by far, is the best. It's the most secure, and it'll work out the best. So.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
As we get ready to open up the microphones, I would just remind people to not only state your name and address, but please be respectful of each other's viewpoints. You still have the ability in this country. You have the freedom of speech, and we welcome that. We're interested in good dialogue back and forth and listening to your concerns, questions. We'll field your questions as best we can and certainly listen to your concerns. So you're welcome to get up one at a time or form a line. However, we'll try to go back and forth. Sure.
One thing I did forget to mention, you heard Mary say that once we get involved, we will put a professional design team together, someone who's in the industry, knows how to build a skate park, and also knows how to get the information from the skating community. So they have input into design. But what we left out was the neighborhood as well. Those people in the neighborhood, no matter where the park goes, will also be invited to these little charrettes, so they can see what's going on. They can share their input and provide some input into the process. So this is not exclusively for the skateboarding community for input, but we will be looking for residents and neighborhoods as well. So I think that's important to note. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. It's an important point. Carrie said she has...
I had reached out to a couple of residents on the revitalization page to see if they had any comments, if they were unable to make the meeting tonight, and I did get one response. This resident is at 231 East 5th Street, right at Line and East 5th. She said, I'm a resident that lives within a walking distance of 4th Street Park. I think that adding a skate park in the area would be a great addition to the neighborhood. I have children ages 7 and 10 who are both interested in learning how to ride on a skateboard, as well as some of my son's friends who live in the close area. We know it is nice and safe and will help bring more fun to the outdoors for a wide range of children. So I just wanted to make sure I got that on the record before everyone else spoke.
Thanks, Carrie. Rita, you want to kick us off?
Get us all started here. My father's still too ill to attend, and we'll actually have to duck out right after I speak, so I apologize for that.
Don't forget name and address,
yes.
please.
Well, Rita, you started me. I'm Rita Rubens. I live at 327 East 6th Street in Lansdale. And, I was interested in the thing where you said the realtor, the home value prices didn't go down. I talked to somebody at the Board of Realtors this week, said a skate park often knocks 5 to 10% off of a house's resale value in their numbers. So I don't know where they get their numbers from, whatever you did, but there certainly is a lot of discrepancy. And 5 to 10% on a $300,000 house is a lot of money. So that was just the first thing to start with. I read the Reporter this weekend, and they're going to be doing something at Hillcrest Shopping Center where Prism is, and they're doing all this really fun stuff. And one of the things I was really excited to see was that they're going to work on adding in green space instead of taking out 9,500 square feet of green space. They're looking at all this concrete, and they're going to actually make it something pretty as opposed to taking away the grass and putting in more concrete. So I think that's kind of a nice new thing to look at, is adding green space instead of subtracting it. And then just as a reminder, and I don't know quite what they're going to do about this when they do design a skate park, but there's no way I can take my father in his wheelchair into 4th Street Park. And I don't think adding a skate park is going to really help that. There's no access for the elderly and disabled when you add in a skate park. My blind, deaf child cannot use it. A lot of the concrete is very white. It's very glary. I don't know if any of you have any experience with visually impaired, but white concrete is the hardest thing to deal with if you're visually impaired. So that is a serious concern for me. 9,500 square feet, now that I'll have to change my number to 9,500, is a lot of glare for a child who has visual impairments, and something she'll never be able to use. Whereas, running through the grass, she can do. So you're taking away a very underserved population, an underserved group. There are very few facilities here for disabled children. We do not have a handicap-accessible playground, and I think that that's a shame. That's something we could really be leading in. There's a lot of agencies that will help you build beautiful playgrounds. Where Angels Play is from Sandy Hook Elementary School. They sprung from that, and they do all these really cool things with accessible playgrounds. And that would be a really good thing to do, because disabled children can use handicap playgrounds for a really long time. And then the other thing, I was just looking at the budget for the whole thing. I know we've got like a $200,000-ish grant, and there's some other stuff. So the total budget, I believe, is about $550,000 is kind of what we think the park will cost, give or take.
We were looking at 500, right?
500,000. Okay.
Right.
So Lansdale Pats just sent out a thing talking about how excited they are, how excited Lansdale is, that we're getting $435,000 to repair the streets in Lansdale. All right? So that's a lot less than a skate park to repair all of the streets in Lansdale.
That would not even close to compare.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, $500,000 on a skate park.
220 of which would be, at least 220 of which would be grant. So it's $300,000 in our capital budget for that.
Where we don't
Correct.
have a sidewalk through that park. We don't have anything accessible for handicapped people in this park. And I think, it's a real shame to not build a park plan that would include everybody and not just
I will tell you, we have looked at an all-inclusive playground. We did start down that road, and what was it? I Am Able. So that's not something that's not in our sights, to make the playground at 4th Street all-inclusive for children able and disable. So that's a little apples and oranges. It's not the same thing. One doesn't preclude the other.
One doesn't preclude the other, but is this the best first step? Or do we need to develop an entire park plan that's not just piecemeal, so that in 10 years, because skateboarding waxes and wanes as everything does, in 10 years, are we going to be like, oh my God, we have 9,000 square feet of concrete, and where are we going to expand our cool hovercraft, whatever.
And I understand that, but I hope you saw.
No, what I'm saying is we need a comprehensive plan for the entire park. Do we still need the tennis courts? We want to upgrade that. Do we want to make any changes to the pool and make it better? But do we take out 10,000 square feet now? You can't put that. It's hard to take out 10,000 square feet.
Right. Well, we also
once it's there, it's permanent.
Right.
Maybe we can start smaller and have room for adding on.
Right.
That's a thought.
That's a thought. But also, I think from our perspective, we need a comprehensive plan for everybody that lives in the borough, not a small segment. Not that we care about what everybody says and everybody's input, but that's part of where we're coming from.
Do you think we have more skateboarders than disabled people in Lansdale?
I'm sorry?
Do you think we have more skateboarders than disabled people in Lansdale?
I'm not saying that at all.
Well, you're saying for a small portion of the population.
I'm not talking about, I'm sorry, I should clarify. I'm not talking about disabled people in that regard. I'm talking about 58 houses versus, or maybe 90 people versus 16 or 15,910. So we're looking at it holistically, and our reach, maybe the perspective we need to look at it is a bit broader than just specifically there. As far as access to the park, I don't think the skate park changes the accessibility.
It does not change it, but it doesn't
and
add
it doesn't
anything
mean that isn't a project that we couldn't look at as well.
I think priorities are priorities, and it makes me feel, as a parent of a disabled child, that my child is not a priority to the Lansdale Borough. That was never considered a big meeting. And I know you work for Variety Club also, and I know you understand.
I do.
That, disabled. My daughter goes there. She went to summer camp there her first time, which was wonderful. you know, and I don't understand, you know, that and just the elderly, you know, using this park. This park is already pretty well, because people go there all the time. And I think that it will really affect, you know, it'll certainly with a fishbowl will affect my fishbowl view. I'd much rather look at tropical fish. I can see the park. That person that wrote to you can't see the park from her house. I can see the grass, I can see the deer, I can see the animals, and I'm going to miss that.
Well, technically, she could have saw the house before those other houses were built. So,
well, but she can't now. So she's got a nice barrier between her now and
Well,
I do not. It's my front yard.
keep in mind
I'm
with
just keep it brief here. I know, I'm sorry.
Okay, with some of the concept drawings, there is landscaping, so it's not going to be just a hunk of concrete in the middle of, you know, and percentage-wise, a 9,500 square foot skate park would take less than 3% of the total open space in the park, just to kind of put that in perspective a little bit.
And there's 2 baseball games going on, and there's tennis courts, and there's swimming going on at all times. There is very little usable green space for people who are not athletically inclined.
So one of the what I look at as a benefit to putting the skate park in that location is that currently to get through to the fields, to go from the parking lot, that's a very marshy area. So part of the design process takes that into consideration and helps remediate some of that issue. So there very well could be a pathway for someone in a wheelchair to get through to the drier grass fields beyond through the skate park.
Nothing like walking through a skate park with a wheelchair.
Thanks, Rita. Thank you. Somebody over here?
Hi, my name is Megan Pettit. I live at 208 East 5th Street, so I'm right around the corner from that park. I think I'll start out by saying I do recognize Rita's concerns, and as far as having a child with disabilities, that is very difficult, and we should certainly take steps to, you know, making accommodations that work for everyone. However, that being said, you know, skateboarders have been people who've been ignored for a long time, partially because of the stigma that's been associated with them. I am 29 years old. I grew up in Lansdale from, you know, the time I was born. I skateboarded at Wedgwood, which is off already over by those baseball fields off Moyer Road. No one knows it's there. Unless you grew up here and you went back there, you know, you had to wait for somebody to tell you. That place also didn't have any kind of funding, so we made do with what we had. You know, it was kids who had parents that worked in construction, and they're like, oh, here, we have extra bags of Quikrete. Go take it. Go make a nipple that you can skate on. Ramps were built with, you know, crap materials, just plywood that you picked up that's warped. It was great to have that space, but it wasn't enough. So I think that having something that's easily accessible to everyone at 4th Street is ideal. You know, it's a great location. There's already going to be lots of kids. There's the pool there. There's the small playground. So you have that open to all ages. It's also in a pretty central location. If you're putting something at like 9th Street or Hancock, it's kind of off the beaten path. So I think having something close to the center of town, a place where people are already going to take their kids to the pool, is really the ideal place to put it. And as far as foot traffic and people who bought property that lives on the side of that grass, I mean, I don't want to sound rude, but you bought property next to a public space. Just because it was empty when you purchased it doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. I think it should be utilized, and I can also understand the argument of you're taking away some of that green space, but it's something that's going to be beneficial to our entire community, whether you realize it or not for your children. It gives them another option, another outlet, because as you guys had stated, not everyone wants to do team sports. You know, I did a lot of team sports, but I also found a lot of comfort and joy in individual sports, and you still have a community of, you know, teenagers, kids of all ages that are really supportive. I mean, if you look at the faces that are here tonight, a lot of this was because of social media. I mean, I saw Mayor Andy's Facebook or blog post too. I comment on Citizens for the Revitalization, and I put out the word. I sent it to Facebook friends. I was like, hey, send it to your friends, get them here, because we care. You know, you look at these people and like just see teenagers and young adults who have dyed hair or piercings or tattoos, but you know, we also contribute. You know, we have jobs, we have houses. You know, me and my fiance own a house on 5th Street. It's not like we don't pay taxes too, and I would really like to see it go towards a program that benefits my kids when I have them. I want them to have that option and the support from their peers. So thank you.
Thank you. Megan, is that? to somebody? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jan Winters. I live at 501 Crestview Road, but I'm also speaking on behalf of the Fritz family who live across the street from the pool. I don't know if you can tell, but all these young kids that are here.
Jan, can you move your mic?
Thank you, Kyle. I said I'm also speaking on behalf of the Fritz family. They live across the street at 384. Is that your address? 4th Street. They live across from the pool. Her husband has been a Lansdale resident since he was born. His father was a Lansdale resident. She has been a Lansdale resident since she got married. They just recently lost their son to mental illness, and he was a skateboarder, a BMX rider, and had he had this place to go to, maybe, who's to say? But we're also concerned, is it just a skate park, or will the BMX riders be allowed to bike there?
That'll take place in part in the design process. We like to make it as inclusive as we possibly can. I know in some of the parks that I've visited, they sometimes have designated hours for certain activities. Others just integrate bikes with skaters. So that will all be worked out, I guess, as we go through design, but certainly we want to try to accommodate as many of those users as we can.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that. But also, I didn't know any of these kids very well, and recently have gotten to know them. They all have great hearts, would never do anything to the people that live in the houses behind to make your life uncomfortable. So the fact that you think that they're a wrong element hurts my heart, because they're great guys and girls. They just need somewhere to go.
Thanks, Jan. Anybody over on this side, or should we continue? We'll go over this side and then we'll come back. Thanks.
So I'm Deborah Klein. I live at 231 East 4th Street. So I'm on the other side of Line Street that wasn't included in Carl's initial survey. I don't think this meeting is about whether or not we should have a skate park. I think that's been decided. It's where that skate park should be. If you look at the 4 locations that were presented, 2 of them are passive parks. Why would you put a skate park there? It doesn't fit. So the 2 active parks, the one at 9th Street and the one at 4th Street. 9th Street, I've been to some of the working sessions for public safety, and there's several residents that have been there several times complaining that since they put that SEPTA station in at 9th Street, there are people running the stop signs, there's people not really paying attention to road signs, and traffic patterns. To me, that makes it unsafe to have our children go and skateboard there. If these teenagers, there's a lot of them in this room, they probably don't have cars, but they have skateboards. They would be riding there to the park. If it's not safe to be in a car around 9th Street, is it safe to be on a skateboard? Just saying. 4th Street Park's been there for many, many, many decades. Rita was saying about taking away green space. Where was she when they tore down all those trees for new construction? 4th Street Park, that location, you do not have to remove trees to put in a skate park. You're going to address landscaping, so you're adding in landscaping. Councilman Van Dame, already I was going to bring up that marshy, horrible marshy grass. It just doesn't dry. It never did. And I think it's gotten worse as our, water flow has changed with the changing community. Where I was also at one of our council meetings where it was presented that over the next 5 years, the Wissahickon and Perkiomen watersheds have mandated the amount of silt runoff into their waterways be reduced by a certain percentage. That's going to cost taxpayers money. And so any kind of new construction, like a skate park, would have to include some kind of remediation of silt runoff. We already have a marshy area. We lost trees. So we can also help save taxpayers money by incorporating some of this drainage issues with proper landscaping, and again, reduce the silt runoff that we're mandated to do. We need safety. We need a safe place for our children to go. My son, tell you what, he's not going to be a skateboarder. He never will. But doesn't mean I'm not supportive of it. I'd rather see a safe place for people to go. Because no offense, not every neighborhood in Lansdale is safe. I'm just saying. I grew up here. We all know. But have a safe place for our kids who would be traveling there by skateboards, not just cars, because we do have, both modes of transportation there. So.
Thanks, Deb.
Hi, my name is Brian Schmidt. I live at 23 East 2nd Street. I'm here today to talk about why we should put the skate park at 4th Street. I know that people are worried that it will lower the value of their homes, that it will create added noise, that it will bring loitering and skating during hours when the park is closed, that there will be no enforcement of posted rules, and that it is a dangerous sport. I'm here to say that the skate park can be different. It can be the beginning of something bigger. The skate park doesn't have to be a block of concrete in the middle of the park. I encourage you to go on your computer and Google skate park landscape. You will find many pictures that show parks that are aesthetically pleasing and fit well into a park setting. They can be designed in a way that reduces the sound level coming from inside the skate park. And if lights are needed, landscaping and LED lighting can diminish any light bleeding toward the homes in the area. If the skate park is built at 4th Street, it will be in an area where there are people around, which will reduce the probability of loitering and rules and regulations not being followed. With proper help from the local police enforcement, these issues can be easily kept to a minimum. Skating can be a dangerous sport, much like any other sport can be. It is made much safer with the proper equipment. I visited multiple skate parks that carry a $100 fine for not wearing proper equipment and have never seen anyone show up without it. I envision the skate park being the beginning of something bigger at 4th Street. Let's design this park to be a go-to place for our community. We have our pool there, our basketball and tennis courts, and a baseball field. I envision a walking path with exercise stations, an upgraded playground, a picnic grove with pavilions, open field for our youth to meet up at and play pickup football, soccer, or whatever their minds can think up. Having the skate park within this park instead of tucked away out of sight somewhere will spur the interest in our children to perhaps try something new. How many kids have driven or walked past a baseball, football, or soccer field and wanted to start playing because of that? Allow them that opportunity with the skate park. If the entire park can come to fruition, the skate park at 4th Street will be a safe place for our youth to easily get to. It will be a safe environment that is within an active park's atmosphere. And if done correctly, the whole park will be an amenity that people will look for in a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Just come up to the microphone and...
Actually, I've got a funny story before I get into.
Don't forget to state your name and address, please.
Andy Zeckley, 500 West Mount Vernon Street. So Jan Hamrick got up and see, you didn't think I was going to tell this story, did you? When I was 13 years old, she pierced my left ear, and I passed out cold.
Surprise, surprise.
What's that?
He's got 2 ears, Jan.
So there's a bit of a rebel side in me. But anyway, listen to what Deborah had to say about 9th Street. I think there's a bit of a misconception exactly as to where it's going to be. I shared this today with our police chief. So it's not by the train station, but rather over where the old municipal borough hall used to be. So you don't have that traffic issue there that you were talking about. One of the things, as I was coming in this evening, I saw the BMXers coming in, and I don't know if I was misunderstood, but I thought that previously it was mentioned that the skate park was going to be devoted to primarily or just to skateboarders. So I'm glad to hear that they're going to be more inclusive of the BMXers and also the scooters. So as I was talking to Carl the other day about this, I know that the residents in and around 4th Street are here this evening, and I guess you could say I've taken a little bit of their side. They need someone to take their position, or at least be a sponsor of what they have to say. And that I took it upon myself to call to the police departments of the areas that are the towns or boroughs that have skate parks. So I spoke to Cheltenham, Ambler, Quakertown, let's see, what's the other one? What's that? Abington, thank you. So, and I guess I could say I was a little surprised in that they said that the skate parks were not the problem that they thought they were going to be. However, one of the things that I've seen this evening in the presentations is the fact that the skate parks are not fenced in. So one of the common denominators from the police departments was the need to have fencing. So I just wanted to bring that out and make sure that everyone understands that, yes, you know, the skate parks need to be fenced off in the evening and after hours. So one of the other things that I gathered after I'd put my blog out there was the need for a quality skate park. So in going through the grant here, I was just wondering whether, you know, the additional cost perhaps with landscaping, which is already a green area there at 4th Street, whether 9th Street could stand to benefit from a little bit of green space. I know they have the ball fields there, but, you know, perhaps a few trees surrounding the skate park. And in terms of surveillance, or at least monitoring the parks, I don't know if it's necessarily the obligation, or, you know, the term fishbowl has been mentioned, but the residents, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily their obligation to survey this skate park, but we do have cameras throughout the borough, and I think that that's something that, you know, if we have a camera linked directly to the dispatcher, which it would be relatively inexpensive, that's something that would help take care of the surveillance aspect of the park. Just a couple other things, the fact that right now we have an active skating community at Wedgwood, which I was educated about, that this skate park at 9th Street would be close to that Wedgwood area. So I guess, you know, if the rankings had been somewhat equal, would we be even having this discussion with minimal, I don't want to say confrontation, but minimal differences of opinion if it was at 9th Street? So I think that, you know, residents, especially in and around the region, do have an obligation to be heard. You know, many of them have been here for a very, very long time. So let's see if, as I was going through here, making some notes, if I forgot anything.
We'd let you come back up to the mic.
Okay.
If you think of things.
Can we vote on that?
Okay. Just try.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is it. But, you know, in my role as mayor, as I mentioned in my response to Dan S., I believe, is Dan S. here? No? Okay. So as the mayor, we have residents in the town that have been here for a long time, feel some sort of ownership to the community. They like the serenity of the park, which I think hopefully people can appreciate. I think that judging from the response here of all the young folks who like skateboarding, that's also something that should be valued and taken into consideration. So I would like for everyone, at least, to look within themselves and say, okay, you know, it's not whether or not a skate park is going to happen, it's rather where it's going to happen. And where is the best place for all of Lansdale for that to happen?
Okay. Okay.
Let's not be
Okay.
divisive here, but let's reflect.
Wait, I have a quick question.
yeah.
I have a quick question for the mayor.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Well,
Andy, have you ever been personally to a skate park?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Where would you be more comfortable taking your daughters if they were into skating? Would you be comfortable with taking them to 9th Street if they were skateboarding from your house? Or would you be more comfortable if they were at 4th Street?
I would be, and that's a loaded question, as you can see. I would be comfortable taking them to the best skate park.
Okay, so
no matter which location. That's a good answer. It's a good answer. I would like to just. Don't make me get my gavel out. I'll address a few things for the public to know, because Andy brings up some good points. You talked about the cameras. I will say that is one of the things we heard from the residents. So whether or not a skate park goes up at 4th Street, we will be placing cameras there based on some of the concerns and issues that we feel we need to address based on public comment. As far as the serenity of the park, I may agree to disagree with you there, because it has
You've got
ball
the
fields,
residents
tennis
to talk
courts,
to about
basketball,
that.
swimming. It already has, you consider
there will
all
be more
those.
activity, put it that way.
Right, but there is already a lot. So
But there's
I
more
wouldn't consider that a serene or passive park.
These are the residents.
I'm glad that you are taking up the charge of the residents, but I have to say, they are doing a great job advocating for themselves as well. And I think I usually thank them every time they come out to the meeting, whether or not we're on the same page. But I appreciate you taking up their cause. But they're doing a good job too. So I didn't want them to think they were lost in that shuffle. As far as 9th Street, I think what Deb was saying is, with the traffic problems there, not that the park would go there, but getting anywhere in that area to the skate park at the proposed location where the trailers used to be, that getting there would be a safety issue for
Now,
kids
if I
on
could-
skateboards.
If I could respectfully disagree with you there, because I know that there's been more than one person who has thought that the 9th Street location was going to be over near where the new parking lot is.
Correct.
But that's not the case.
That is not the case, and you're right. We do need to clarify that it's over behind the Ed Hull Little League
Yes.
fields, right?
Good.
But I was just saying, I think Deb's point wasn't that she's saying the traffic problem could be a factor in kids getting to the correctly defined space. No. Are there?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Brian Schmidt, 23 East 2nd Street again. My only question about the whole 9th Street location is, has anyone driven through that whole area during any time of rush hour, whether it be morning, afternoon, even off-hour times? It's scary in a car half the time. I cut through the business area because I'm afraid I'm going to get T-boned one of these days driving through that area. And that's us driving through in cars. Kids trying to get through on skateboards through those intersections, all near that car wash. It's not a good way to send our children.
Thanks, Brian. Go ahead.
Hi. I'm Brad Allen. I live at 219 York Avenue. She can go.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make an argument about the value of having it at 4th Street, based off of my personal experience being, I worked at the skate park at the Doylestown YMCA, which is a, inclusive family environment in which there are other activities taking place. If you were to have it at the 4th Street Park with other activities, baseball, swimming, where the whole family can be there at the same time, I've just known from my own personal experience that that's an incredibly valuable asset for a community. The kids themselves, people who would never usually see skateboarding, or, it would challenge the entire family's perception that we've all been discussing, that, you know, there's this perception versus the reality. It would drop that illusion immediately and allow everyone to see, oh, this is just as valuable as baseball. It's just as valuable as every other sport that we've taught our children. I feel like that's probably the most compelling reason to have it in an environment which includes something for the entire family.
Thank you.
Yes. That's okay. I'm not good at this. My name is Nancy Mirabello. I live at 453 East 4th Street in Lansdale since 1978. I moved to Lansdale in 1968. At that time, the population of the town was about 16,000 plus. And today it's still 16,000 plus. I don't understand that. I wish somebody could explain that to me. Okay, and I also want to say I am not opposed to skateboard. I'm not opposed to skateboarders. I'm not opposed to how skateboarders dress. I'm not opposed to tattoos. I wear some myself. So I am for skateboarding. I am not for skateboarding at 4th Street. I understand there was a petition. I did not get an opportunity to sign that petition, so I would like to sign that petition that I am opposed to the 4th Street area for the skateboard park. I believe that there are enough things there. I'm 2 houses from the pool. That's fine. I don't have a problem. But I think there are enough things there that a skateboard park will just bring more traffic to the area. And the person that mentioned about 9th Street, I live on that 4th Street. 4th Street from Line Street to Lansdale Avenue is an incline. From Lansdale Avenue down, it's skateboarders come down there, all the way down, go right through the stop sign at the pool. Cars go right through the stop sign at the pool. I don't see a lot of police. I want to thank you for your service, but I don't see a lot of police on 4th Street. There's cars that go through that stop sign day after day. I see them at St. Stan's Festival time. They're around, but I don't see them very often during other times. So if the skateboard park goes there, then I guess they said that they will be surveying. Well, but there's many people that do not stop at that stop sign. And there's a lot of children on our block, okay? My house here, a house there, a house next to me, there's 10 children there. And cars come down that, they exceed the speed limit all the time. It's a safety thing. And I would not like to see a skateboarder hurt that was coming down 4th Street, going through the stop sign, and getting hurt. I wouldn't want to see any child getting hurt.
Thanks.
But I would like to be on that petition.
Thanks, yeah. That lets me remind everybody that if you do have traffic issues in your neighborhood, the place to come to that is public safety meeting. That's the hour before Parks and Rec meeting every first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. and call your local police department if you see things in your neighborhood that need to be addressed by the police.
Good evening, I guess. My name is Brandon Hatfield. I live at 37 East Main Street. I just want to say you guys are doing a great job as far as getting everybody together. I'm really stoked to see all the turnout of everybody supporting this. Yeah, there's some naysayers out there, but ultimately, I just want to say I speak for the entire action sports community when I say, let's just get a park. I don't care. Put cameras in it, police it, put a fence around it. It does not matter at this point. We are itching to ride somewhere other than Wedgwood, which we built up ourselves and maintain ourselves, and there's not really any problems. It looks a little rough, a little rough around the edges, but we make do. by all means, I think that we have a great community, and this would add to everything. 100% we'd be able to throw events at it, bring people out, get people out of the houses, off their cell phones, you know, away from the TVs. And the fact that it would be at or potentially be at 4th Street, it would get the entire family involved, just like somebody previously mentioned. And that's fantastic. Going one-stop shop, essentially. You can play on the playground, go swimming, and catch the mayor on a half pipe. So with that being said, I just want to, you know, let's keep moving forward with this. Let's have the next meeting about funding. Let's, whatever we can do to help, by all means, we're here.
Thanks. We'll take you up on that. Sure. Yeah. Can you hang on a second? Go ahead. Thanks. Does that answer your question? Thanks. Okay, we'll come over.
Neil Migliaccio. I'm a Lansdale resident, lifetime Lansdale resident. I hear you talking about this park's got to be built in Lansdale on Lansdale Borough property, right? Now I would ask that anybody that has a comment that they are a Lansdale resident, or they shouldn't have a right to have a comment on this park if they're not a resident of Lansdale. I feel, and I hope most of you people, that's the way it should be. I'm not opposed to skateboards. I mean, my kids had them, I have them, I love them, it's nothing wrong. I'm just opposed to the location. Now, if you look in the summertime, you go to the 4th Street pool, you ever notice that parking lot is completely full? No place to park. The people that live in the new development there, they park along 4th Street, especially on Sundays. They park all the way up to the pool sometime. There's no place to park. These people, I mean, are they going to ride a skateboard from, I don't know, North Wales or something, or Hatfield, or wherever they're coming from, to Lansdale to go to our park, our skateboard park on 4th Street? Where are they going to park their cars? Are you going to expand the parking lot?
No. Do you want me to, do you have more to say? Do you want me to respond to?
You can,
okay.
if you wish.
Sure. Well, one of the beautiful things we think about the location at 4th Street is the access from different modes of transportation. So there is a parking lot there. There is off-street parking. At least in the time when I used to go to 4th Street pool with my kids, I don't remember the parking lot really being, unless on an excessively hot day, parking lot is generally not full during swim season. But there is accessibility via the train station, via bus stops, sidewalks, foot and bike paths. So that was why, that was one of the big reasons. Main Street.
I don't see no problem with the 9th Street area to build the park. You got a lot of open space there. You got the ball field there. The people drive cars there. The kids play baseball there. You have hundreds of kids there. And I just never see any problem getting in, getting out. I used to go there with my kids. And there's a lot of area there. You got a lot of room to expand. You could develop a nice area. You got the refreshment stand there. You got bathrooms there. You got everything in 9th Street that is necessary to build your park. So, I mean, like I say, I'm not no objection, but then they can park all the cars they want there, too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
If I could, I'd like to address the parking issue at 4th Street Pool. I monitor both the Whites Road and 4th Street pools on a regular basis during the summer months, and we were talking about 10 weeks that those pools are in operation. During that time, 4th Street Park is rarely, and I will say rarely, filled to capacity. It's generally about 30% full. So there's ample parking at 4th Street swimming pool during most days that the swimming pool is in operation, and certainly when it's not in operation, there should be plenty of parking. And as Mary suggested, there's off-street parking. And I will say that in the studies that I've done and the research I've done is that when skateboarders, if they're not coming on their skateboard, it's very social activity. They'll carpool together. So you may get 4 riders in one car instead of one rider driving to the skate park. So that dynamic also exists. So I really don't think that the parking is a relevant issue at that site. I'm hoping that wherever the skate park is built, that it's going to be used and people are going to come. I mean, that's the purpose of having parks and recreational spaces, so people can come out and enjoy the space and the facility that you're offering. So I view those as being positive from a park director's perspective. So thank you.
Jason, did you have something you wanted to say to that, or? Okay, thanks. We'll go over to this side.
Hi, my name's Sean Downing. I promise you I am a Lansdale resident. I actually own land in Lansdale, so I don't know if that makes me an extra resident. But like I said, I live at 208, which is a stone's throw from where you're projecting to build this, and 208 East 5th. And you know, I hear a lot of people talking about property values, and your property value will go up when your town's value goes up. And if the town is more valuable, your house will cost more money. You know, if there's no reason for somebody to come to Lansdale, Lansdale's never going to grow. You know, every time a family in their minivan comes to the skate park, probably going to buy lunch, maybe breakfast, and that's tax dollars coming to this community. And you want your handicap ramp, that happens a lot faster when there's people spending money. And when people take the train into Lansdale, they're going to walk around our downtown, which is finally turning into something, which up until, you know, Stove and Tap and all that stuff was dead. Every other store was empty. So, you know, the more people come here, the better it's going to be, and your house is going to be worth more money. And trust me, I want that too. So, thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
I'm not a Lansdale resident. I own the skate shop. So if anybody's going to have a perspective of what skateboarding, how it affects the community and how we serve the community, I think I live it every day. I don't have a car. I skate to work every day.
Can you tell us where you're? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sean Cathron. I own the Ambler Skate Shop, and I own the Ambler Skateboard Academy. We've had, so as an outsider, the last 5 years that I've owned the shop, 90% of the team or the kids that we sponsor are from Lansdale, and it's because of Wedgwood. Because of all those kids, that's why we had a team at first. So the talent came from here. So investing in a skate park is investing in your community. Not only is it a physical activity, but it opens up so much more creativity, brings so much more to your town. I teach kids from 5 to 12 years old, 40 of them, boys and girls. We go over etiquette. Before we get to the skate park, we clean up the park, we pick up the trash, we water the plants in town. I volunteer at the community church. So skateboarding is more than just a physical activity. You have so much to offer. This North Penn School District is amazing. There's so much talent here. And if you just invest a little bit, you'll get so much out of it. I don't have a preference where you put the park, to be honest with you. But I will tell you what I've seen from the Roslyn Park, from all the other skate parks. If you put the park somewhere where it's in the corner and nobody sees what's happening, then all you are doing is inviting certain behavior to be happening. People who aren't skateboarding, they're there like moths to a flame, hanging out at the benches. But if you put it in broad daylight, where everybody sees everything, just like at the Ambler Park, all the activities that used to happen before the park don't happen there anymore, because there's constantly families and people going up and down that street. I know specifically customers of mine who have moved into town just because the skate park is there, so they can go across the street with their daughter. It's not just about the teens. So I just wanted to come and give you my opinion, because I feel like at the end of the day, this is what I do every day for the last 5 years. From running a retail shop to teaching kids to being a part of the community. And you guys have a lot of value in this room. And all these people, it's amazing. I mean, Ambler is half the size when I go to a town hall meeting. They actually just voted to keep the lights on till 8 o'clock for the winter and the fall session. Before that, the lights used to go off at 4. You know, neighbors would think like it was too loud. But now, 4 years later, they're like, okay. Because everybody thought it was going to be this thing, and it turned out it wasn't. It turned out to be a good thing for the community, that you can actually like walk your dog at the park and not have to worry about who's in the shadows, because there's people there. There's families and kids that are there at the park. Like the average person who's coming to the park generally has a parent or adult who's sitting in the car or sitting in the lot there. They're not just going to drop their kid off and leave. And most of the people who come to Ambler for the skate park are catching the train, they're spending money in your town, they're eating. I have kids who, the siblings taking guitar lessons up the street at Ambler Music, the other ones taking skate lessons with me. Or the other ones at the dance studio down the street, and then the other ones with me. So from somebody who, like I said, who lives it every day, like, this is a great opportunity. I don't know which location's the best, but I've seen the locations that are not good, when you tuck them in the corner, when you pretend that the kids aren't there. When you go to those places, you'll see a skate park on one side, you'll see a basketball, tennis court. Guess which side is full? The skate park. You might see one kid on the basketball court. Ambler repaved the whole basketball court, tennis court. I might see one kid on a Saturday afternoon. But when you look to the left, the whole skate park is full. Now, I'm sorry, I'm a little passionate about it, but let me back up. You can't have a small park if you're going to have bikes and skaters in the same space. It has to be a decent size for it to flow, because bikes move at a different speed than a skateboard. So that's why size matters, number one. But that's why you bring in guys like Jesse, who's built skate parks around the world, around the country, and built the Ambler Park. So spacing matters. That's why using the right materials, where you put it and on, makes a big difference. That's why I'm here. And I'm sorry if you're offended, sir, but I'm not writing any of this down. This is, like I said, this is what I do. So at the end of the day, I would love to be able to give you some feedback. If anybody has any questions, you can ask Jesse. But, the Philly Am, the contest that happens in this region, doesn't happen in Philly. It happens at Ambler because of the way it's spaced and the way it was made. So the premier contest that happens in the Philadelphia area happens at Ambler. And there's no reason why it wouldn't happen in the Lansdale Park. People catch a train from the city all day long to us. It's the same train that comes here. It's the same train that I will be taking home. So from this train station to Ambler, to Jenkintown, to Philly, will be a skate park at every location. How cool is that?
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean. Sean, is that
Thank you, Sean. I know Jesse's here. Jesse Clayton, could you want to say a few words and introduce yourself? I thank you for coming out tonight.
Sure thing. I really appreciate
then
the
we'll
heads up.
go to, okay.
So I'm also not a Lansdale resident. I do understand the sentiment, but I believe I can bring some insight to some things that I definitely have a little more experience. I've been designing and building concrete skate parks for the past 10 years. 80% of the skate parks in Philadelphia have been built by my design build company. And I'm not here to plug my company. I'm really here just to support the project. You know, all the experiences that I have, coming from the very first one, you know, I designed and constructed a skate park in Kensington, Philadelphia. And it's well known to be the heroin capital of the tri-state area. And just from the first project, you know, the addition of the activity of the skate park absolutely cleansed that whole entire district. I'm really close with you know, the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, as well as some of the city council people that give us the funding we need. And the statistics that they pull in after we finish a rec center redevelopment, where we turn an abandoned, say, hockey rink or a tennis court into a skate park, the numbers are really staggering on adolescent crime, sometimes dropping as much as 50% within the next quarter. And there's just a whole boatload of other really great statistics. Businesses recording, you know, there's a pizza place across from one of the parks. Immediately, they're seeing 15%, you know, higher sales in the next quarter. These are real numbers that are easily calculable. And you know, when you're looking at an area where there's no development going on, and then boom, somehow a skate park springs up, and you know, and some of the times it's built, you know, by volunteers. Like I said, that first project in Kensington, we were all volunteers at that point. You know, and I think that's a testament to the community of skateboarders and really how much of a draw there is. You know, you look at, like someone brought up Wedgwood. Obviously, it looks like it's underfunded and not really state of the art, but it's coming from a place where these kids are so desperate for something that they're willing to sacrifice their own time, their own money, you know, and really, I think that's something that we could all take a page out of their book. You know, that's a sense of civic responsibility that not a lot of members of the community show. I mean, not to say that people don't want it, but I think it's kind of staggering to look at what a group of children can do. And, you know, and really just take heed to that, you know, that drive. But I've got experiences, and I've been to more of these meetings than I can count at this point, all over the country. And I've managed projects up to $500,000 and down to $20,000. And there's not a single instance where I can latch on to anything negative that these parks have brought about. Obviously, there's some more traffic flow. There's going to be, you know, but part of me feels like that's a good thing. That means people are using it. That means the kids are getting out there and being active, you know. I know a lot of people have said skateboarding has more than just physical attributes to it that are beneficial to the youth. I mean, but it's such a social environment. Kids learn how to share. The kids learn how to respect one another and build each other up, even though they have different skill levels. Everybody can move at their own pace. I know this meeting is about where the park's going. I'm kind of going off topic a little bit, but I do want to say that from my experiences, it's been such a positive thing for so many kids' lives. And, you know, I've worked on Indian reservations where, you know, domestic violence and crime is absolutely, you know, unbelievable. And, you know, you come back and visit these places and you see some of these stories, and it really affects me. I mean, it changed my life in an incredible way. And it wasn't so much the birthing of my career and being able to do something that's part of my youth culture that I really care about, but really how it's affected their lives, you know, giving these kids somewhere where they can be accepted no matter what their skill level is. You know, kids don't make the varsity team. Some kids have to ride the bench. In the skate park, There's not a single kid that rides the bench. If you want to be out there, you get to go and participate just like anybody else, and it's such a, that's, I think, one of the most beautiful parts about it. It really is, enriching to the kids that may not make, first string, the kids that are on the special teams and they only get to run out when the football gets kicked and they might get 2 minutes of play time a game. This is such a different atmosphere, and I think it's, it's great that Lansdale's even supporting this type of thing. I know that it's becoming more mainstream and things are turning around as far as the public perspective of it. But that's a good thing. These are all really great things, and I guess I can just give my perspective. The past 10 years has really been something that I can look back on and be proud of, and I hope to help Lansdale in any way that I possibly can. Also, I wanted to touch on the budget. I know we're not talking about that, but it seems like to me, from designing and building parks for the past decade, those numbers are grossly inflated. I don't know where those numbers were recruited from, but I definitely think if you got the right design build team, you'd be able to get a lot more for your money. Not that you want to build anything bigger, but a lot of the times if you're looking at something, say 9,500 square feet, using better materials, it doesn't just have to be concrete. There's a lot of different materials you can use for skate parks. But I do think the budget is allowing for a lot of other development around the park, whether it be walking trails, handicap ramps, trees and landscaping. I mean, with a projected budget that you're looking at, there should be a lot more amenities built than just, quote unquote, a chunk of concrete. I just think that wherever the numbers were gathered from, I think they could be whittled down if we're just talking about a skate park.
Well, I'd like to clarify that, Jesse, if I could. Sure. That budget is for the entire project, and we have said repeatedly that it's just not the surface, the skating surface. We are looking for some amenities, seating areas, shade structures, those types of things. That will enhance the site. Make it attractive, and just not make 9,500 square feet of concrete. That's not our intent. Never has been. But it's a good point. And I know we've heard a lot of good things about the Ambler Skate Park, and I know you're instrumental with the design. Is my understanding.
We went to a bunch of design consultations with the community. All of that time, I donated the design to Ambler. I personally purchased $5,000 of that concrete. That was kind of a resume builder. I was happy to do it, but not the most lucrative job I've ever taken on. But I'm happy to, be someone that helped that happen, because I can go back there and, sometimes words really don't quite convey what the experience has been for me, because I go back there and see kids that I was watching step on a board for the first time. And, I don't really expect anyone to understand how I feel about that, but it's really something special to go back there and see how much the kids have just taken a hold of it and made it their own, and really they're the local stewards of the park. Every time I go there, there's no trash. I mean, really, they take care of the place as best they can. They're not out there putting cracks shut and things like that. I mean, but they're definitely they're taking care of the space, and I think it's it's incredible. It's like, it's just the kids realize when they get something special, and they know how to take care of it if they really, that they got to be part of the process too. Like going through the designs with Ambler, having kids show up to the meetings, meeting at Sean's skate shop, and literally going there with the plans and handing them out to kids, letting everybody doodle their own ideas on the paper, and then, gathering all that and trying to make a cohesive whole. Kids can sometimes say like, "Oh, that was what I suggested," and it really brings them in and makes them feel like they have a little bit more invested in it, than just like if a kid goes to a basketball court, it's like they don't know the guy who did. You don't even design a basketball court? You just put it up. There's no real discourse with the public, and when the kids are involved on that level, I think you see a massive difference in the way that they treat the space. So I think you have a great opportunity here to really inspire some of the youth to get more involved in local government. And think I'm being kind of long-winded, so I'll step back. I apologize. I do
No,
understand your.
no problem. I think the gentleman here will go next. Thank you.
Good evening. Paul Cuttajar, 504 East 5th Street, 2 houses down from 4th Street Park. And all you skaters are hoodlums. You're going to destroy us. You're going to knock over old ladies. Going to attack the little kids. That's the impression that's being given of those who are in the area and opposed to the location of 4th Street Park. And I think it's kind of amusing because it's like this reverse discrimination I'm seeing. That, oh, you have this image of skaters. And instead, the images of the people who are around the park, we know you're not. I mean, I've heard many eloquent defenses for skating right here and who want to skateboard, and there's lots of pros for skateboarding and getting out, and not against that at all. Okay, again, this discussion has really become, and a lot of the defenses and a lot of discussion is skateboarding's great and you're against it. And, that gets off the topic. All of the building of the community, the getting out of the air and getting into, I'm a parent of 2 teenagers, 14 and 16, okay? Want them out of the video games and outside and playing around and getting into the community. So against the skateboard park is not the issue at all. So it's about the location. So what I want to address is a number of the points, because I think it was those points about the location that have not been addressed properly. So a number of us have been coming out since October 27th when the first meeting was held. We've come out to a couple of the other Parks and Rec meetings, to a couple of the council meetings, have proposed a number of the points. Some of those points were addressed by council in the PowerPoint, but I think there were some flaws in those arguments. Okay, so for example, we went through the locations, and it seems to me that the 9th Street location keeps coming up as sort of the secondary one. But a lot of those locations, we looked at distances, and the distances between the houses and the skate park. And that's, obviously that's the foundation of the problem for the people who are around the skate park, who are living in around that 4th Street area. And there were distances, the distances were the same, or a couple of them were a little closer. But in all those locations, there were 5 houses. I counted 6 houses. Okay, around 4th Street, we talked about 180, 160. So what you're talking about is how many people are you impacting versus just those distances. So for us to just look at distances, that's a little deceiving. We talked about the noise. That's part of the problem, is that there will be noise. And we said there's 70 decibels of noise, and that's equal to a flushing toilet. I don't have a flushing toilet going on for 8 hours a day through the daylight. If I did, that noise would bother me a lot. Okay? My toilet flushes for 30 seconds, a couple times a day. So no, that 70 decibels doesn't bother me. But 70 decibels going on constantly, that's a little bit more of a problem. Okay, so that's the location. Those are the location problems that have been brought up. The other location problems that have been brought up, and again, council brought up about the fact that they're going to look into security cameras. The reason the security cameras have been brought up is because it's been pointed out that 4th Street Park has been a hotbed for drug selling. Okay? The tennis courts have had constant problems of drug selling. The tennis courts border right on the street, and they're easily seen. And yet we still have that problem. So now we're going to put a skate park in the interior of the park. So I think there's going to be more of a problem there. Now, we may have cameras now, but I'd wonder, why would we want to put that in a place where we've already got a problem along those lines? And we're not talking about skateboarders that's not the point. I'm not going, skateboarders are going to be doing drugs, and I don't want that. What I'm talking about is after hours, because it's not the tennis players who are selling drugs either. Okay? It's after hours when it's closed and the skateboarders have all gone home. That's when we've now created a location where there can be more drugs being dealt. Okay? So those are the problems that I'm talking about there. I've heard a lot of eloquent talk about Wedgwood and the people who grew up Wedgwood and have built up Wedgwood. I'd ask the question, if this park had just been built at Wedgwood, would you be asking for it to be moved to 4th Street? Or would you be happy with it where it was? Okay. So I feel like there, and I've also heard, well, it's going to be out of the way over at 9th Street. But where the skaters are, I'm hearing, are at Wedgwood and at 9th Street, in that area. So it's actually a longer trip for them to come to 4th Street. We've now moved it out of where they are. I've also heard, well, 9th Street is not a very good-looking area, okay? And yet everyone's been over there. Okay, the traffic has been bad, but everyone's there for Wedgwood. So if the skate park is there, the skaters are going to go there. Okay. And if 9th Street is underdeveloped and in poor shape, then maybe we should invest $500,000 in improving 9th Street. And then the gentleman who talked about overall Lansdale tax, improving our tax base because we're improving Lansdale as a whole. Well, should we go to a place at 4th Street that's already developed and just add something else and leave 9th Street looking less than developed? Although there are ball fields there. So I also was kind of wondering, it's tucked in the way of nowhere, but my kids played Little League there and softball there for a long time. But would we be better off developing and investing $500,000 to improve an area of Lansdale that's down, bring that up? I think in the end, you will have improved Lansdale as a whole, okay, as opposed to cutting out the green space over in 4th Street Park. Let's see, what else did I hit? Did I get everything there? And just the last part is that, because again, I hear going to 4th Street Park because there are families there, and we want to come. How many of the skateboarders here want to go with their parents to the skate park? You're jumping in the car with your parents to the skate park. How many are going on their own to the skate park? Because I know my kids wouldn't be going, wow, you're bringing my 8-year-old son over to the park. Bring me over to the skate park too. So I think that's just, it's a little bit off as far as the argument that that's the push. I think if there's a skate park over at 9th Street, skateboarders are going to go there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would. I would like to address a couple of the issues. Carrie was down the Ambler skate park just recently. So the argument about parents driving kids to the skate park is really, in my opinion, is erroneous, and it's just conjecture on your part. There are young kids who maybe not in this room today who skate and are on skateboards, and they need transportation perhaps to get there, just as they do to get to the swimming pool and some of the ball fields if that's what they're doing. So I think you're kind of cutting that segment of the user group out of the equation. So I just wanted to bring that out to the forefront. And the other thing I guess I would suggest is it appears that perhaps you're not interested in any other additional activities at 4th Street that would draw people to that site or create a little different looking environment. Is that accurate for me to say that, sir?
So, Carl, let me just answer one. So the part about bringing the families, that was like a small piece of my argument. So, I mean, if the parents are going to drive them somewhere, again, it just depends on where you're living, whether you're driving to 4th Street or driving to 9th Street. As far as development for 4th Street, development of 9,500 square feet of cement, no, I would be against that. If you told me you were going to put another tennis court there, I'd be against that as well.
Understood. Thank you.
Chief, did you want to address any of the...
Yeah, there's one issue with the 9th Street is, everybody thinks it's underdeveloped. It's overdeveloped. We actually have a group coming to a public safety meeting tomorrow night of Wedgwood residents. They want us to address the parking issues down there. When they have baseball, they just flood the neighborhoods, and we actually have a shortage of parking down there. Carl and I tried to work on getting some other additional land down there for parking, and the need of parking is great down there, and we just don't know how to address it.
Okay. One other thing, Chief, could you also, I don't want it to seem that we're talking about cameras at the in the area of 4th Street, that this is something that's not new to the borough of Lansdale, but there's been an initiative, and maybe the Chief can just explain a little bit about the initiative about adding cameras across the borough and how that program's been going.
We started adding cameras. We call it the camera watch system in the Lansdale Borough in 2010. The way we're doing it in a technological plan where it has to be in a loop that goes in a circle, so each one connects as they go. And we're actually up to Main and Greenwood. We're up to is our latest. So then we're going to start heading down North Wells Road. We're going to make a loop through the borough. But cameras going in 4th Street because we have a substation there, and we actually started a fiber optic network, and they want to interconnect the substation. So I asked to put extra fiber in, so I got to have a camera there. And it's in a tough area with a camera because we don't really want to face it into the pool because for privacy reasons, but we did want to have one in the park. And I'd also like to address as far as drug dealing at the park. And nobody's calling us telling there's drug dealing. As a matter of fact, we have a very good handle on where drug sales and use are going. And nobody calls us. And I'm going to tell you, there's no drug dealing going on there. I mean, I walk the park myself. There's no signs of usage. We check that park constantly. And if you feel somebody's selling drugs, you got to call us.
Our neighbors have been at court cases testifying, so
That's hard to believe because I know all the cases that go, and we don't have drug dealing cases going there.
You mean current ones?
No current ones, none in the last couple of years. All right.
Okay, Janice, and we'll call on you, and then Megan will come back to you if that's okay.
Janice Tyndall, 230 East 5th Street, very near the 4th Street pool. I was hoping Lansdale would have a skate park already. You've been talking about it since the 90s. I think 4th Street is the best place to put it. You've done your research. The visibility. You don't want to hide it in 9th Street. You don't want to hide it in Wedgwood. What about the 6-year-olds, the 8-year-olds? You want to take them to 4th Street. My husband drove my son around the county, out of state, going skateboarding. 8-year-olds don't drive with their, So he was saying he didn't think the parents and the children would go. 4th Street's the best place for this. I'd be honored to have a skateboard in my backyard. Skateboard.
Thank you.
Hi, Megan Pettit again at 208 East 5th. And I apologize, sir. The last gentleman that spoke, I didn't catch his name, but I want to address some of the things that you had brought up, because you did bring up some really valid points as far as there have been a number of people who aren't addressing the fact that why we want it at 4th Street. So I did bring that up previously, but to reiterate some of that, as well as some things that I probably didn't touch upon before, the issue with 9th Street specifically is, as they stated, it is overdeveloped. It's very industrial back there. And the sewer plant's not that far away, or the water treatment plant. The traffic is certainly an issue as far as the football games, Little League. I played on Lansdale Little League baseball when I was a kid with the boys, so I was on those fields. And I can tell you with certainty that they are overcrowded. There is a huge issue with the driving. One of the benefits of having it at 4th Street versus 9th Street is the fact that it's centrally located. You're talking about people who are driving to the park, and yes, there are certainly a lot of those, but we're also talking about kids who are 8, 9, 10 years old, or 14, who don't have cars, who are going to be walking and riding their bikes with the board strapped to their back. Not everyone has parents that are available to them in the summer to drive them around. So that's why I think 4th Street is, one of the best places to have it. And I think a lot of the guys here today who are, here to support this can agree. You guys want it at 4th Street, right? So, I realize not everyone is going to step up and say something this evening, so I'd like to think that I can at least speak for the most of the Wedgwood skateboarders here. As someone who was born and raised in Lansdale, knows the hassle it was to get there. And I grew up on West 7th Street, right across from the junkyard. So I wasn't even super far away. But when you're, trying to skate on crap roads with potholes and cracks, uneven sidewalks, gravel everywhere, heavy traffic, and then going into a back neighborhood, and if it is a weekend and there's a baseball game going on or a football game, you're dealing with that. You brought up a lot of very valid issues, and I'm trying to address them. It's a little past my bedtime, so I'm not remembering everything. But, as far as the issues with putting it in another location, I think you're missing more why it's better at 4th Street. And it's simply because it's centrally located. There is a ton of kids in our neighborhood, and I personally love the foot traffic. I love seeing little kids running down the street on their training wheels and their skateboards and just screaming, running through our yards. And I realize that not everyone does, but I would still prefer them to have a specific place that they can go to. Be noisy during the day, because, I would assume you have a day job. You're probably not around in the summer, Monday through Friday, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's not something that's going to directly affect you. For those of our community that are retired, yes, more so. And I can certainly understand that there are frustrations there. But to be real, skateboarders aren't really loud. Like, as far as foot traffic and actual car traffic coming through, you are going to see a small increase. But I don't think it's going to be enough to really have you notice anything different than, the kids that are already coming with their families to go to the pool or play at the park, or even just, walking through because they're going to visit their friends around the corner. 4th Street is the ideal location for a number of reasons, but I think the main one is just that it's key access, and then you can easily walk to the center of town and get lunch. You can hop on the train and go somewhere for the teenagers who are like 16, 17, but maybe don't have a car yet. The people that come in on the train from the city, because people will travel. I've traveled to a ton of different places to go skate. Not anymore. I'm old and broken and can't do it. But back in the day, before my knees went out, you're there, and you will find a way. But if we can make it as convenient for our youth as possible, it's going to be at 4th Street. Thank you.
Thanks. If you're old and broken at 29, I'm beyond repair, I think. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name's Kip Nush. I live at 425 Williamson Court, and by your map, I am the closest resident to this proposed park at 4th Street, and I'm first in favor of that. I've coached tons of these kids over the years at the baseball field for the past 15 years. At least 2, possibly 3 seasons in the Cannoneers football. The parking is overwhelmingly packed over at 9th Street, and the unusable land at the 4th Street Park would greatly benefit from a skate park being built there. Currently, there are already kids, younger kids, I would say probably from the age of 6 to 12, who are already skateboarding, scootering, BMXing in that empty parking lot right now. My deck overlooks the Little League field. I can tell you, if you've participated in T-ball, those T-ballers will be way louder than skateboarders could ever be, and the screaming kids at the pool will be way louder than the skateboarders will ever be. The mayor graciously stood up here and was speaking on behalf of the residents. Unfortunately, I've never met him before, and I feel I'm the closest resident, and I felt it was prudent that I step up and share that not all residents are opposed to a skate park at 4th Street. I am one of them, and I just wanted to say that out loud.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm Kyle Champagne. I'm a Lansdale resident. I've been a Lansdale resident my whole life. I grew up on 622 Gillender Street, right up the street from 4th Street. And I've been biking literally since I was a kid. The kid on my shirt, he's been biking since he was a kid as well. And he's wanted this his whole life. And we've always talked about it. Like, we always said, like, oh, hey, what are the chances, like, that we'll have a skate park at 4th Street? Like, never in a million years did I ever think I would be up at this mic right now talking about this. So to the people who are in this room against it, I know that you're probably not going to change your mind anyway because you're here, because you're against it. I don't know how many people in here I could sway their opinion on it. Like the chief said, it's like a fishbowl. I grew up, I've had many encounters with the police being told, you can't bike here, you got to go. Nicely, it's always been like good interactions and never bad. They tell you, you got to go somewhere else. And it's like, where am I supposed to go? So then you try and find the best place where you're not going to get caught for biking at again. If this park is here, I can guarantee you 100% there will not be any drug interactions or anything going down. When the police say that they're going to watch it, they're going to watch it. It will 100% be like a fishbowl. There will be no drug transactions, and if there is, they'll be caught so fast. Oh my gosh, you don't even know. I promise you. So to any of the people over there who are against it for specifically the drug trade reason, I've never even seen any of these interactions like happen growing up here to begin with. So that's where I am with that. And as the noise goes, I can guarantee you that like if there's any like obnoxious noises or anything, like kids just out of the ordinary, there's a kid on that skate park that's going to tell that kid, hey, you need to cool it, like you need to calm down, like you're being ridiculous. So yeah, that's my idea or like my point or view or whatever on the skate park being at 4th Street. But when the chief says that it's like a fishbowl, it's a fishbowl. I promise you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jean Williamson. I live right on 4th Street, 460 East 4th Street, a few houses up from the pool, the park. My husband and I have 7 children, and we are outside all the time, whether the kids are outside playing, if we're walking around the neighborhood, if we're biking around the neighborhood. In the summertime, we were at the pool almost every single day. The pool is supervised. It's fantastic. We take our children to the park. Unfortunately, there are times when we come home because either we're correcting other people's children or there are just a lot of children that are just out of control, and we come home. The questions that I have are, one of the things in the video was about the little 10-year-old and learning how to skateboard, and she loved it. That's fantastic. Is the Borough of Lansdale going to offer organized lessons or classes or something for wherever the location of the skate park is for a reasonable price? Have you thought about that? Not just putting concrete down with great landscaping. Have you thought of, okay, how, if we want all ages to be part of this, how are we going to go about doing it? So has that been considered?
Yes, it has.
Okay. All right. The other thing is the proximity to the playground of the proposed skateboard park at 4th Street. Has there been a discussion about whether or not that is really good as far as the age groups? The age groups at the playground right now at the 4th Street Park, in that close proximity to the ages of the children that will be skateboarding. Discussions, there's different age groups right there. Has that been considered? Is that okay? Conversations going on between 13 to 18-year-olds or whatever the age group for the skate park versus conversations and little children playing on the playground. Has that been considered?
Have you been to a skate park, may I ask? Have you personally been to a skate park?
I have been to the Roslyn skateboard park, the skate park, because my children have gone to the Roslyn Park and we have walked. I don't know if you're familiar with that park, but it's a huge park, and then it has a soccer field, baseball field. You can walk through the trails. The skateboard park is fenced in, and we have. Just from being at the park, we've walked down and we've taken a look. But that is far from the playground. Like, it's not within earshot of hearing different age groups.
Right. I just wanted to make a point that I have a 6-year-old, and I've been taking him since he was 1 to the 4th Street playground. And I've experienced personally numerous times when I take him at all the way up to 6 at this point, that there's been numerous kids up to 13, 14 at the playground itself. I don't know if you've noticed that as well. So, I mean, I think all ages, and even I would take, I've taken my son to a skateboard park, so I think, there will probably be ages from 2 to 14 at both places, right? That's what I would assume.
Yep. I would just add, I look at the skate park as a little bit of a remedy to the situation that exists now. Now we do have teenagers hanging out in the playground because they have no place else to go. Given a skate park that's more conducive to that age group, that moves them out of the playground for the little kids and allows the little kids to kind of separate themselves a little bit more. Will there be crossover? Probably. But the ideal thing is that the skate park attracts the older kids away from the younger kids at the playground.
And then when you're saying that it'll be, overseen and kind of supervised, like the pool is supervised. There are people there supervising, so they're saying, if there's inappropriate behavior, there's someone addressing that right away. But right now, without a skate park being there, just the 4th Street Park, it's up to the parents you're not even, like you as a parent, maybe correcting somebody that's not even your child. So how's that going to work? I
was going to say I did that at the Chick-fil-A today. I parented another kid that punched my kid in the stomach. So, I mean, to say that that's not going to go on, it happened at the Chick-fil-A, so.
But then are you expecting the residents within just those few houses that can visibly see the skate park, or the parents that are bringing their children to 4th Street to be the monitors of what's going on?
No, certainly not the neighbors. I mean, I think we would ask neighbors if they see something going on that they think doesn't belong there, yes, then they should monitor and call the police. Are we expecting that? No, we don't. We don't expect the neighbors to police the skate park. What I think we're saying is that should naturally happen with the parents and other adults. Are we asking other adults to parent not their own children? No, but sometimes that happens organically. We would expect, just like, my son would go play basketball over on 4th Street. Was I there with him, monitoring him? No. So some of that, so it will be self-policed. I think what we've heard from some of the young people here in the skateboard community is they self-police and self-monitor and clean up. Does that mean that everything's perfect and you'll never have an issue? No, I don't think any of us are naive enough to think it's 100%. But I will also add, as far as the pool supervision goes, I mean, you got to keep in mind some of that's mandated by state law because of the water, and the people on duty there are supervising actual bodies in the pool to keep them safe so no one drowns, but there could be any other activity going on. I mean, not, the pool staff does a fantastic job, and year after year, we hear good things about them. So I would like to think that in concert with all the amenities going on and all the activity in that park, it just creates a better area for all of us.
I just think a lot of things have to be considered, no matter what location. And
you're right, and that's what we would want when we get to the next point of deciding location and whatever full council. Now, remember, people keep saying council showed us. This is the Parks and Rec Committee that presented tonight, and Parks and Rec Committee will make a decision Wednesday night as to which location of these 4 we want to put forward. March 15th is when full council will issue their decision. And if they back the recommendation of the committee, and whatever the next level is, whatever site is ultimately decided on, if there is one, we would expect more input. This is when we get into these considerations and things to look at: the fencing, the location, the proximity, all of that kind of things.
Yeah.
What the design will look like, what we should include and shouldn't include.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Hi, my name's Dan Pancoast. I live 326 York Avenue. I've been in the Lansdale area my whole life. I've skateboarded since I was probably 10 or 11 years old, first in Harleysville. But either way, I'm not the best skateboarder, but I have had experience with Wedgwood. A lot of the kids there are younger than I am. I'm going to be 30 this year, which I guess isn't that old, depending on how you look at it. But I've learned from the kids there, people that I didn't even know. Some of them I still don't know their names, but they've taught me. So to touch on her concern with, are there going to be lessons? Are there going to be, people to help out and teach kids? I can pretty confidently say that there's a lot of people in this community that are older, talking in your 30s and 40s, maybe even that old, that have been skateboarding for a long time, that are more than willing to teach kids. I mean, I would teach kids. You know, I'm sure you could find people that could volunteer. And also, to touch on her comment about the proximity to playgrounds and the younger kids and what they might overhear, I can't say that, of course, there is always going to be a time where you're going to hear curse words, made up curse words. If they fall and you hurt yourself, sometimes you scream out in pain. But also, there is a lot of self-policing. Skateboard community is very mature. We're there to skateboard. We're there to have fun. We're there to progress. And, you know, we will self-police. And yes, there probably will be some fights and things of that nature, but they'll be rectified and they'll be handled at that time. They won't get out of hand. There won't be, you know, substantial issues with fighting and things of that nature. Skateboarding is a family sport. And, you know, I have kids that I hope to teach to skateboard, and I'm sure people in this room have kids that, you know, they want them to skateboard. And so it's all about the etiquette. You be respectful. You ask questions if you want to learn something or how somebody's doing something. And if you have something to say, if you see something that's being done, hey, don't do that, you know, don't do that to that obstacle, don't move that around, you know, don't chew up that planter that you're trying to jump over. Like, stop doing that, just to keep it so that we can keep going there and that it doesn't get shut down.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Selma Robinson. I live at 350 South Cannon Avenue. I am a Lansdale resident. I've been a resident for 56 years. I grew up on Crestview Road by the 4th Street Pool. I enjoyed 4th Street Pool during my youth, and the Lansdale Parks and Rec gave me a job through most of my teen years and early 20s. So I have a great interest in recreation in Lansdale. I was fortunate enough to be a health and phys ed teacher at North Penn High School for 35 years. Currently, I'm the assistant athletic director up at North Penn, which is going to lead into something I'd like to share in a few minutes. Obviously, activity for youth is very important. I thought I was coming here this evening to support skateboarding. My son, Brad, who is here, was a skateboarder, although I was not ever and will never be a skateboarder. I have no tattoos. I do have pierced ears, but I do not fit the mold of a typical skateboarder, whatever that is. My concern is now that I'm hearing that it sounds like we are going to have a skateboard park, which when I was on Borough Council years ago, we were hoping to get that, never came to fruition. A lot of us in Lansdale live here because of location. I, through my early 20s, wanted to live in the West Ward. And when I made that decision to move over to the West Ward, it was all about location, location, location. I happened to live across the street from a church parking lot. I made that decision to move in to my house across from the church parking lot, knowing that there was going to be a lot of activity over there. And maybe someone old like me, not everybody feels this way, but I get a lot of joy watching young people participate in activity in that church parking lot, knowing that they're playing roller hockey, maybe baseball, riding their scooters, bikes, skateboards, whatever. So I knew when I purchased my house that the location would lend to activity across the street in that church parking lot. I'm not trying to be rude, but I certainly don't understand. The pool has been there since 1956. That has been a park since 1956. So when I'm buying a house and I'm worrying about the value of my home, which is my largest asset, I'm thinking to myself, okay, do I want to move close to this space that is an open park area, knowing that down the road, hopefully there's going to be development there and there's going to be things that will address the needs of the community over the decades. So I'm sure that I'm making some people a little upset by saying to you, you chose to move next to 4th Street Pool and that park knowing that it was going to be a hub of activity. And when I see a hub activity, going back to my comment about working at North Penn High School, every night when I leave North Penn High School and I see all the cars in the parking lot and I see people using tennis courts and our turf field and community members walking around the campus for exercise and riding bikes in the parking lot, that makes me feel good that that facility is being used to the max and our taxpayer dollars are being used for the good of the community. It's a hub. It makes me feel good to see that. Yes, I do not live next to 4th Street Pool because I chose not to. I chose to live in the West Ward because I wanted my children to go to York Avenue, but I also know that there was a parking lot there. So when you made the choice to move there, my feeling is, well, something's probably going to happen there and it's probably going to be activity. So I just want to share that I think the 4th Street location is a great location because of the hub of activity. I am concerned about the 9th Street location. That is an industrial area. I see tractor trailers going up and down the streets over in that direction. There are industrial businesses there. There are commercial businesses there. I feel that a lot of the skateboarders that I have been privy to with my son growing up as a skateboarder use their skateboard to get everywhere. I would like to see kids skateboarding to the location in a residential area rather than a high traffic area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Did you?
Good evening. How you doing? I'm Rich DiGregorio, 850 Knapp Road, Lansdale. Yes, I want to first say thanks for all the kids showing up and participation. I've been on council for 10 years, and I know the last 10 years, I would like to have a skate park. I mean, there was a lot of kids from, like Kip was saying about the Cannoneers playing football and sports. Other kids don't play sports but skateboard. I did as a kid. So one question I have for the Park and Rec Committee is, your proposed 4th Street Park, is there any way you can put flags out and actually lay it out so the residents can actually see what you're proposing? Because I know when you say not over close to 10,000 square feet, some people don't understand the dimensions of that. But if we have some kind of flags out, something like it's laid out, a lot more people can get a better perspective of that situation where the park is.
Yeah, we did. Rich, were you here when we showed the slide? Were you here for the slide, the PowerPoint?
I got there late because I was
okay. We did show what it would look like to scale, so I can share that with you.
What I'm saying is, any way that Carl's crew can actually put something out in the field?
Sure.
With little flags, labeled and stuff. Thank you. So when people are walking around the community, they can stop by the park and take a look at their survey, not on a piece of paper, but physically see maybe little flags or something.
So they can see the size and where exactly it would be.
And you're proposing for that situation.
And it is no more than 9,500 square feet. That'll be the largest it would possibly be.
No, I understand it, but it's easier for people to go out and look
I get that.
Yeah, so that's one suggestion I have for the committee. If they can do that, that'd be great. Like I said, I know us as council, we have to make a decision on that in the next couple of weeks and so, but I'm ready for having a skate park, and I like to personally see all the options before we make a decision. Thank you.
And I don't know, Rich, if that can help you. I mean, again, we can flag it out, but the right above the parking lot is the proposed location. The one you see next to the tennis court, we just put that there to show everyone what the size of the skate park would be in relation to the tennis court that's already there. So we were kind of giving the perspective of relative to the whole 8-acre park, what the spacing would look like. But Carl said he'll go out there and mark that off.
That'd be great, because like I said, it'd be easier for residents to see what you're talking about.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Guess I'm next.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill Henning, 201 South Line Street, Lansdale. Good night. I'm a Lansdale resident. a lifelong resident, third generation. My 3 teenagers are a fourth generation Lansdale resident. A few years ago, my son broke his arm skateboarding. So I'm not saying skateboarding is bad, because about the same time, my daughter broke her arm in gym at Napa Elementary. So I'm not saying gym class is bad either. But I can't help but thinking, when my son started skateboarding, he broke his arm, skateboard hit it. He was skateboarding along the sidewalks. I can't thinking that it would have helped if there was a safe place for him to learn to skateboard. A safe place where there are experienced kids or other kids to help teach him to skateboard. Not try it on his own and break his arm. I've been going to 4th Street Pool since I was a kid. I grew up my summers at the park, at the pool. As far as the location-wise, my 3 teenagers, they live within a block of 4th Street Pool. Me, I'm in favor of that location. I think that is far much better location than the 9th Street. I like the idea, I like the visibility of that location. I like the amenities that are already there. I like the idea that a family can go there and there's options. A family can go to the pool, the teenager can go to the skate park, and the little kids can go over to the playground. There's options. I like the idea the snack bar has a snack stand on the parking lot side. If you're skateboarding during the summer, you can get something to drink. Don't have that amenities at the other locations. These are good kids. They just want a safe place to enjoy their sport. I personally think 4th Street will provide that. I'm a parent that wants a safe place for my kids to skate. I want a safe place for all the Lansdale kids to skate, to go. I think 4th Street provides that option. If anything, I think the skate park would be a great addition and complement 4th Street and its facility that's already there. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Hi, good evening. My name is Carol Fazioli. I live at 504 East 5th Street. I have a question and then just a couple comments. My question is, those of you who will ultimately be making the decision, how many of you, and I think it's at least one of you, live within a distance that was shown on the various distances of the different parks? How many of you live within any of those distances?
I think I live the closest out of the 3 of us who will make the initial recommendation. But of course, there are 9 people that will make the ultimate decision.
Okay, thank you for that.
I could like to comment too. I also have an interest in a property at 209 East 6th Street. That's property that now belongs to me and my sister. So we're in relatively close proximity as well.
Okay, thank you. And to address, I believe, Ms. Robinson? Yes. When my family and I bought our house going on 17 years ago, we knew full well there was a park there, a busy park, and that definitely I was concerned about that. And I was assured by people who lived in the neighborhood that it was a lovely place to raise a family, and it absolutely has been. I bought it knowing it was a busy park. I did not buy it thinking that it was going to be added on to, and perhaps I was naive for thinking that. I feel like it's a busy enough park, but I'm not going to get into that whole issue. So we bought knowing, but not expecting it to be even busier. And that kind of ties into my last comment. The 4 of you, I believe, were definitely present at one of the Parks and Rec meetings in the fall when another resident of Edgewood spoke to all of you and stated how many times he has called the Lansdale police to come for drug activity at the basketball courts. And he also stated, and I'm giving you hearsay, he's not here to speak for himself, of being a state's witness in that drug activity. So I want to bring that up. Have I ever called the police for drug activity? No. I know that it's a very active basketball court. I love seeing it used. I just don't want to add to more activity there. And piggybacking off of what Mrs. Williamson said about her children, having concerns about her children. My children are teenagers, but long ago we abandoned 4th Street Park because of the amount of children there who were unsupervised. And I would take my children to other parks, both in Lansdale and out of the borough, because of that. And that's just a concern of somebody whose children have long outgrown the use of the park, the playground area, but is just really just thinking about what the skateboard park brings to more activity there. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to clarify, yeah, the 4 of us would have been up here in October. I think who was not here, and in retrospect, we wish he would have been, is the chief, because that comment did come up.
Absolutely.
And the police, we didn't have somebody from the police here to address
But
that.
what I was just a little disappointed with was when the other gentleman brought that up, none of you spoke in defense of and said, oh, we have had reports of that. So it kind of went unrepresentative, and I wanted to speak to that point. That there has been drug
well,
activity
and I can't speak to
reported.
that because I haven't personally, I hear what the neighbors say, and they say it's happening, so I trust, so we have brought that concern to the police, who, that's the proper department to address that,
Okay, right,
not
but
us
just to say,
saying.
to hear that there's been nothing reported, and neighbors in that neighborhood, residents in that neighborhood, homeowners in that neighborhood, have acted as state's witness on their own time. I just wanted to make that point to you.
Yeah, I understand it. And the nature of drug selling is much different than people's perception. People don't stand on the corner and sell drugs anymore. I made my career on the other end buying drugs from people. I used to have long hair and a beard, and I bought drugs from people. Today, it's different. Through social media and cell phones, they meet places quickly, and transactions are different. It's not there's no open air drug dealing going on. That's what they tell us. I've sent officers there to play basketball, undercover, nothing. I've sat there myself on Friday and Saturday nights. I talked to the groups that play basketball. It's a pickup game. But people could stop and sell drugs anywhere in town, because all you do is pick up the cell phone and say, meet me in 2 blocks.
Right, but if I'm a resident there, I don't want more activity there. I would hope that's understandable.
No, I understand what you mean, but I don't think it's fair to throw us under the bus and say there's open air drug dealing going on there. And we spent a ton of resources and fleshed it out, and it doesn't happen.
I'd like to address that also. I will say at the Parks and Recreation office, we constantly get phone calls into the office. You know, people have concerns in our park system. A piece of playground equipment may be broken. There may be trash spewed. One of the play apparatuses are in one of the playgrounds, or something going on. And I would say we have not received calls saying that there's a drug activity in 4th Street Park. I'm not saying there's not, but I'm just saying from our experience, where people are free and fast to call Parks and Rec, which we encourage them to do. Again, it's maybe a little bit different than calling the police. They may feel a little more comfortable doing that. We haven't had those types of calls. So again, I'm not there 24 hours a day, but I would think that if that type of activity was taking place and it was rather running rampant, that we would probably have heard something by now. So for whatever that's worth. Well, I will say this, excuse me, Mayor, that the Parks and Recreation, we pride ourselves on being responsive. Mr. Sulfis is in the audience, and I hope he could attest to this. When we replaced the basketball lights at the basketball court, there had been lights there for years. The ones that were up there saw their life expectancy, so it went about a few years without lights, and finally we decided to put lights back on. I know there was some glare. Ms. Sylphie's called me. I was out at the site numerous times. We made adjustments. So we're receptive to hearing those types of things. And in all honesty, sometimes that's what we need to know that there's an issue. So we're happy to do our part. And if we would have heard about activity, not acceptable activity, that was a police issue, I would be in touch with the chief. And I know, and I feel comfortable that they would certainly respond to our aid or to your aid. So our phone is open. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Margaret Kenyon. I live at 461 Williamson Court. I previously lived in Lansdale, had my first apartment here in the 90s, and I was very interested in getting back to the area, especially hearing about all the wonderful improvements that have been made over the past several years. And I'll agree with the woman who just spoke about being well aware of purchasing a home that was overlooking an active park. However, definitely did not anticipate, less than 2 years of living here, that there was going to possibly be a skate park installed in that park. But again, understand that there are a lot of people who are very passionate, and I can definitely understand that the youth here, they want to have something that's something different for them to do, something in a safe place for them to do. That being said, I do have a couple of questions and comments, but I'll keep it brief because we're getting very late here on a weeknight. My first question would be, you can make me number 65 on the list of homes who is opposed to the park located at 4th Street, because I was not one of the folks who was a contactor on the petition, but I would be curious to find out how many of the people surveyed around the 9th Street proposed location, how many of them expressed concern? Was it the same type of a percentage of concern that you found when you surveyed the folks around 4th Street?
Well, we didn't conduct a survey. We only announced the locations, and it was the impetus behind the survey or petition, if you will, was really generated by the neighborhood and wasn't generated by the borough.
Okay, so nobody at 9th Street has made any kind of complaints about possibly having the skate park located at that location?
Not to this point, but I think the focus has been, and based on the site evaluation, the opinion had been that it would be, 4th Street seemed to be the most suitable location. So essentially, most of the conversation is centered around 4th Street.
Okay,
I do believe, though, that there were some complaints issued from the 9th Street area regarding potential parking problems.
And even in the 4th Street location, I mean, if we're talking about the safety issues as far as the kids being able to get to the proposed skate park, there's a lot of very busy traffic on 9th Street. I mean, it can be scary to be trying to traverse the sidewalks there. So I think that if kids, especially, they're going to be training in, unlike 9th Street that has a train station pretty much right there, the kids would have to be skateboarding, walking, whatever, carrying their boards from either Lansdale or Pembroke. So that's certainly a longer trip to try to get safely to the 4th Street area. My other two questions involve, do we have any projections on how much it's going to cost to be maintaining this park to make sure that it would be kept safe for the kids and also be pleasing to the eye?
No, we don't have any specific projections, but we do know that it will be supported and will be taken care of. Jesse may have some numbers relative to his experience, but I will say that the pools are certainly well maintained. We take care of those, meaning the Borough of Lansdale does, and through Parks and Rec. Most of our facilities, if not all of them, are really taken care of. The maintenance level is there on a daily basis. We have a full-time maintenance crew. We have assistance from the other departments as well when needed. So I would think that should not be an issue in terms of the maintenance of the facility.
And the last question involves any kind of liability costs, since skateboarding, the one gentleman also mentioned about how his son had broken his arm. There's a greater chance if we're going to be having more kids coming in to be utilizing the park in this manner, that there are going to be more injuries just because of the nature of the sport. So what are the kind of costs going to be associated with maintaining liability in addition to what's already for the pool?
Well, we've been advised that it's just another facility within the park system, so shouldn't have any significant impact. So that's what our insurance people have told us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think the gentleman back here has an answer. Margaret, is that your name? Has some information about maintenance numbers?
Generally, if you pick a high-quality vendor to design and construct your park, they can be extremely low maintenance, much less that of anything with a grass field that constantly requires mowing and manicuring and water. Do you have any numbers on what it costs to maintain a soccer or baseball field? Because skate parks will be a minute fraction of that. They don't have, it's concrete. I mean, you look at a concrete sidewalk. When you go to a concrete sidewalk, when do you repair it? Pretty much when you're ripping it out. I mean, and that's, what, 20, 30 years down the line? So in my experience, I've never had to repair any projects that I've worked on. I've never been called by municipalities that I've provided them to, and it's been 10 years since my very first one, so it's a pretty low maintenance type of facility.
Thanks. Anybody over here? Did you?
Yeah, I just have one last thing to say. Like I said, the chief, when he said the fishbowl thing, I know for a fact that if you put cameras in, like, I know that just out of common sense, what kind of drug dealer is going to sell on camera when there's cameras there? Not very many. I just know that.
The kind of people that sell drugs. Not smart ones.
Not smart ones. Yeah, that's a good answer. Unfortunately, like, we have to go because we have school tomorrow. I wanted to thank you guys very much for even making this meeting possible, because I didn't do anything to be standing here today, and I wanted to thank you guys for this opportunity.
You're welcome. Is your homework done? That's the most important question.
That's what I'm going to go home and do right now, so thank you. Thank you. And to anyone in this room who is the least bit swayable at all, I beg of you to, like, just please go home and think tonight, like, more in our perspective, the younger envision of this skate park. We're not bad kids. We're not here to do drugs. We're not here to sell drugs. We're here specifically to skate and bike. That is what this park has meant to us our entire lives, this concept. We have always envisioned this, and the fact that this is even an idea it's like unbelievable. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And can I add before you go, thank you for coming out. And what a beautiful tribute to your friend. He was also a friend of my son, so I appreciate you coming out on his behalf.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your
See, public speaking isn't so bad, Kyle, right?
My name is Chris Pescatore. I live at 467 Williamson Court. I think most of you have heard me talk already about this, so I won't really rehash it a lot. Gentleman just talked about swaying people over for the skate park. I think it's kind of the opposite. I think the people who are against the skate park are open to a skate park somewhere else. I think the resistance is moving the skate park somewhere else, right? The focus of this whole meeting has been putting the skate park at 4th Street. I came in here, and no offense to anybody, expecting this meeting to be geared towards 4th Street, and it didn't let me down. It seems like there's no room to compromise with the residents who signed that petition to put it in a different location, right? You're using taxpayer dollars. You have a good number of residents who are not for it there. Personally, I knocked on doors at Williamson Court. We said there was 58 houses there, correct? I had over 95% who answered the door who were against it. Agreed. I said who answered the door. With all due respect, with who answered the door. We heard 2 more here tonight who were against it, 1 more that was for it. Maybe now we're at 94% who were against it that answered, right? It's a high number, and it doesn't seem to be any compromise with any of the people against it who have spent a lot of time here, right? The skaters are for it. They come out to these meetings. They don't come out to the other meetings. And I get you guys have said in the past the people who are for it don't always come out. But there's a passion on both sides here, and I don't think that's been taken into account. A question I had that came out of today's meeting, I think at the first session like this, you guys had noted that you weren't removing any of the ball fields. Looking at that drawing, it looks like one of the ball fields is coming out now. Is that correct? It's not because it's not going to be on the ball field where the skate park's placed? No, it doesn't look to T-ball field. Okay. That was just a question, just out of curiosity. Really, I mean, I have nothing else to say, right? We've had all the points, we've hashed it out in every meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to hear us, but like I said, I don't feel like there's an equal compromise with the residents against it or the people for it.
Well, I would just say, and I know I've said it before, it's amazing the numbers of people this has brought out. In the 4 years I've sat at this table for any issue, the people that come out to this room are the people that oppose something. Tonight, I think you saw, and through the course of this process, you've seen a lot of people get involved that support something. And I know there's a group that's passionate that is opposing it, and you've been very active, and we have heard you, and we've looked at a lot of the issues. Some of the issues that you've brought up have absolutely nothing to do with the skate park. Some of the things that are going on at that park, need to be addressed, whether there's a skate park there or not. That, should be a totally separate issue. But there are a lot of residents that are in favor of having a skate park there, and I think you've heard that tonight. So we have a list of people that live around the neighborhood that support it. No, I did not bring them out. Okay, I did nothing to bring anybody out to this meeting tonight. I did less than any of you did. I talked to some of your neighbors to ask them how they felt. That's it.
What was your ratio on that, for versus against?
There was it was support or oppose, and also 4 in support and 3 against. And I went up 4th Street and down Edgewood. It was about 2 hours. Great conversations with people. We didn't agree with everybody, but that's just the nature of what we do here. I knocked on your door. If you were home, if
I would just like to say, I think the point is, I'm sorry to kind of hear you think that we didn't take anything you said into consideration. Okay. Yeah. See, I kind of think it has gone the other way. I think you've been a very loud and passionate voice, which is a good thing. You have brought things to our attention that we needed to think about and address, whether they're skate park related or 4th Street Park related. I hope you saw that you made us think of things and look at things, resale values, safety issues, and those types of things. I was glad to see that people came out in support that lived in your neighborhood. After seeing the petition, I wondered if most of the people were against it. I'm not so sure of that case. And I will say, I did take a look at the petition. I know that all those people are not homeowners, they're renters, so they may or may not be staying in that area. There were some people that didn't live in the neighborhood at all, and at least one person I know of signed it but really isn't against it. So, I think we could both move the line some way. But.
My name is Justin Gallagher. I'm 206 East 5th Street. Obviously, I'm for the 4th Street location, because I live a block away, so it's just convenient for me. But anyways, I wanted to bring up the fact that I hope bikes are going to be allowed at this park. If Jesse's going to be the guy to build it, I know bikes are not allowed at Ambler Park.
That was the borough, not my decision.
Well, we can work together. What else? Oh, look, this is just so nice to see all you guys here. Awesome. I did bring some pretzels too, so if you guys feel free to carb up. That's pretty much it, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shahidul Mia. I live in 368 East 4th Street in front of the park. I'm the only one know who's going or coming, because when any car is going out, his headlight is in my bedroom and my living room. But, I always concerned about young kids. That's why I'm part of the North Penn Mosque. We are very much, busy with, young kids. We want, diversity. So we are the part of that, and I like kids should be involved. Because if you don't give chance to kids to do something, they will do something, other thing that's become the bad. And I'm very shocked, we have Jimmy is a young boy. I love him so much. Suddenly some wrong thing happened. He's out of our place. His family is suffering. We are also suffering. When we heard that, so we want all kids should be friends together. They know each other. And we are human beings. We have good, bad. That's the way we are created. So if we give them kids, free, willing to play, sports is a good things for each of person. And movement, body movement, make your brain to work good. If you're sitting and watching TV or doing something, that brain don't give you any other things. Just make you depression more. Like smoking. People think, I'm smoking, I feel good. No, it just make more depression. So that's why we are always telling you, quit smoking, quit the bad thing, associate all the people, play, game, so many. And I like to be, skating. I don't care noise. When I bought that house, I know it's in front of park, in front of swimming pool. A lot of car will be coming. Maybe I will not get chance to my park, car will be parking. So I don't mind that. I always have, wants to, our community grow up, and kids should be feel enjoy. And then when kids will feel good, they will respect us too, because, that's the way. One day they will be like me. Then if they do good, community will grow up. That's I'm supporting that one, because I'm the one in front of them. So I have no problem, and I'm sure no one get that problem. Noise always has everywhere in the street when you go outside, noise. But when you shut your door and window, you don't feel any noise. You're sleeping peacefully, So that's my request. Who has opposed for that? Think about it. We need that kids, do something. I saw that when the younger son, that flower store in front of the North Penn Mosque, they play there, so badly because there's no good place. They always they fall down. If they have some free space, they will enjoy that. And that make them good, and hopefully they will, do good for every community. That's my request, and I hopefully you understand that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Brad Allen, 219 York Avenue, again, resident of 14 years. I just wanted to address what I think may not have been addressed at as much length. We had it in the PowerPoint presentation that a lot of people are concerned about their property values going down. And I'm suspicious as to how great of an influence that is on the people who are saying no to this. Because to me, I'm looking to be a first-time home buyer in the next couple of years. I would value a skate park as an asset to a community. I would love to live close to a skate park. I would buy one of those houses. If someone decided, I don't want to live next to a skate park, I'd jump on that opportunity. I think it would be something that would just be great to raise a child in that environment where they have access to a diverse amount of activities and a diverse amount of people that are going to enhance them as human beings and look after them. I would trust my kid in a skate park. I know because I've grown up in skate parks. I know what that environment is like. I know that it starts from 3 or 4 years old sometimes, and everyone is always looking up. The older people that will be there, those will be the role models for every person younger than them. So, I know some people brought up, would the kids be hearing bad things if they, were around older kids, and is that a conflict? It's actually not. When you bring in people my age, I'm 29 years old, there's several of my friends here that I've grown up with around the same age. If we were there, we'd be skating at that park, then the teenagers wouldn't be doing anything bad because they'd be looking up to us. They wouldn't want to do stupid things if they see us being role models, setting a good example. And then, it scales up and down both ways. So that was just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Deborah Klein again at 231 East 4th Street. I wanted to address the feeling that the residents of Williamson Court don't feel that you're listening to them and compromising. If I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the original location of the skate park was supposed to be at 4th Street. There was no other locations considered. After you...
9th Street, and
Well, originally, when I first started, the site was Schreiker Park in conjunction with Hatfield, and we steered away from that. That was well on its way to being done as a joint venture, but then the Lansdale portion got moved to Equus, and then you know that. So when we brought this iteration, it was always the 4. We always were looking at all 4.
But I know that was Equus, yeah.
That was the Equus, and then when they reconfigured what their project was going to be, they wanted, correct.
Okay, so I mean, my understanding was you were always leaning towards 4th Street. Carl sent out the notices to the area residents, and because there was the petition and people were saying, no, we don't want this, that you made it more public and saying, all right, well, what other locations are possible? I mean, I think you have compromised that saying, all right, well, let's take a step back. Where else can we have it? Let's open it up to resident discussion, because it's not just the residents in that 4-block radius that will use a park. It's residents of the borough. I do think you've listened to them. I think you've tried to find alternate, places as well. Unfortunately, I think the majority of the people that came out tonight feel that 4th Street is probably the best location. But even though your opinion of what you felt what the best location was maybe didn't change, I think you did compromise. I think you did take a step back. You surveyed the borough residents. You looked at additional parks and areas. You can't please everybody. And so I do think that you did actually compromise and take a step back to try to listen and address the concerns of the residents. As far as language goes, last year, my scouts, we were cleaning up Main Street. We started at Railroad Plaza. There was kids hanging out on the benches, being loud. They're kids. They weren't using appropriate language. I said, hey. Know what they said? Oh, sorry, and got quiet. If you feel that there's teenagers being inappropriate and you have a small child there, speak up, because more times than not, they just didn't realize their surroundings. I have a potty mouth. I'll admit it. But I also know when I'm around children, not to use those words. And again, sometimes we forget, but if you have concerns with someone's behavior, especially language, usually if you just, call them out on it, they'll apologize. And again, it shouldn't be an issue. So.
Thank you.
I'm glad everyone is still awake after 3 hours. And I appreciate that the representatives of Parks and Recs are here and some other elected officials that serve us on the borough. My name is Alan Silfies, and my house is on that picture at Edgewood Avenue. Very briefly, when this first meeting was called in October, I was 100% against the concept, even the word skate park. Attending that meeting, I realized how important it was for the younger people here in the borough to have something, and they spoke eloquently as they have tonight. Since that time, it has never been, in my mind, an issue of, do we need a skate park? It's been an issue of, why place it in a park that is 100% surrounded by residential properties, when Lansdale has more than 20 other sites that could be looked at. Granted, some of them may not be appropriate, but the 4 that were chosen, in my humble opinion, were chosen with 4th Street was chosen first, and then the criteria were set after that in order for 4th Street to rank high. I'm not going to go into detail, but as I said, there's many other sites in Lansdale. So please consider the other sites. And I respectfully ask the other 6 members of Borough Council to also consider the other sites. My biggest fear on Wednesday night will be the wording of the motion to present to Borough Council. And my fear is that you're going to bundle the skate park with the location together. And perhaps that's not the best move. And I think you're going to put people in a bind because of that. I'm not sure there's any resident here tonight, maybe 1 or 2, that are opposed to the skate park. So that could be an issue of itself. The location could be a second issue. So I respectfully ask your consideration of how those motions are going to be presented to the full council on March 15th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll clarify, we did not, the criteria was not tailored to location. The committee was given the 4 locations and the set of criteria, and Carl, you can correct that.
Right away, you stacked the deck. You gave four locations. You just admitted you did. With the 20 other places, why not White's Road? Why not Memorial Park?
Actually, as the process began, we asked staff to recommend locations that they felt would be best suited to a skate park. So
you started
we asked
with
them.
site
We
and
asked
then went
the
to the
police
criteria. You just admitted
No,
that.
they're
Well,
two
the criteria
separate
comes
things.
from a skate park development guide. That's not criteria that we developed.
So you were looking for...
So in essence, what happened was...
All right, then enough said. I appreciate there was a lot of work done. There's still a lot of work more to do, and I appreciate that. But I just want to remind everyone else here that we're looking at a picture up there that talks about 9,500 square feet, and the chief has said there's going to be a perimeter road around that in order to police it. So all of a sudden, we're expanding already beyond
No,
what's
there won't be a
shown.
perimeter road around the skate park.
Please, revise.
He did say that.
He said there's going to be a perimeter road around the skate park.
Around the park, not around the skate park, like around the park in general.
We can check if it's already.
Well, we can ask.
Always adds a difference. They want to build an intimate park setting. I don't want bushes or anything. I want to see in there. But I know that that's not reasonable either. So we generally compromise.
But you did say there'd be a perimeter road around the park.
I said I would prefer us to get car access to go around it. There's going to have to be some kind of access for them to get vehicles and maintenance in there anyway.
Well, 4th Street's a problem anyway, because with the townhouses that were built, and when they get visitors or company, they park on 4th Street. So if you're coming down Line Street and there are cars parked along and somebody's coming down 4th, somebody can't turn and somebody can't go. There's not enough room.
Well, we just restricted the parking on 4th Street. They took away all that parking all the way up to the transformer
Well,
on 4th Street.
Yeah, that's on 4th Street. Well, there's always a lot of cars parked there.
Okay.
We could get police skateboards.
Yeah. And I will, to your, is that a parking thing or a, okay. 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 And just to talk about the motion part of it, our job, what we're tasked with as a committee is to put forward a recommendation on site. That is not just the park itself, but a skate park within a certain site. And so that's what we will do Wednesday is vote three votes, whichever way they go, on whichever site gets the most votes, will be put forward to the 9-member council.
And I just wanted to say, Mr. Selfies, one question that you did say was there's a lot of houses around that border the park. In your view, that's a negative, but in other people's views, that's a positive because you have so many houses that have easy access to that skate park, which wouldn't have to go on major roads to get to, compared to 9th Street, which probably most of the kids that would be traveling there, besides maybe the kids that live in Wedgwood, would have to go through. So that might not be a negative. It's a negative in your mind. It could be a positive in someone else's. So thank you.
I want to raise one question. Excuse me for speaking the second time. Everybody should have just one time to speak, but excuse me. The question is, there's a sign there at the park now. It says park is open at sunrise, closes at sunset, but the lights are on the tennis court. So what's the sign for? Now, that's the question. The lights are on the basketball court. They're on all until late at night, but the sign says park open to sunrise, closes sunset, but the lights are on. Now, this skateboard park, is it going to be all lit up? It's going to be lit up like a big statue back there. Is the lights going to be on all night, or what? Is there going to be a time cycle for these lights to be on and off? I mean, I'm just raising a question.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that. When you talk about the park curfew, you have to understand the entire ordinance that was passed by council, which includes provisions for active areas within the park system, swimming pools, basketball courts, baseball fields, lighted facilities, the amphitheater in Whites Road Park, to have extended hours of operation for purposes that are either sponsored by the Borough of Lansdale or purposes that serve the public. And that extension of the park curfew, which is the general park curfew, is really for passive areas where there's no activities and no facilities to engage in. So the option is to extend those curfew hours through the Parks and Recreation Department by giving sufficient notice to the public via the website and also advising their police department. So it's been a common practice now for a number of years that the swimming pool gets extended hours, amphitheater gets extended hours, baseball fields get extended hours, basketball courts get extended hours. So
skateboard park, it's extended hours.
That remains to be seen. If the skate park is going to be lit, if the skate park is going to be lit, then consideration would be given to that.
And that's if it's going to be lit, and that is not determined yet in any location, whether the skate park would be lighted or not. Anybody else, or shall we call it a night?
Come back in 2 nights for a meeting that will be at least as long.
Well, no, that'll be limited to an hour.
Well, you got to do all the committees, though. We'll be here.
We'll be here that long. Okay. So the Parks and Rec Committee will meet down here at 8 o'clock on Wednesday evening. Thank you all for coming out. Pass along thanks to those you knew that had to leave. I will be here for a little bit longer. If you want to speak to me one-on-one, I'm available, email, phone call. Feel free to let me know what you think. Thank you so much.
Thank you.